Welcome to You Hear Big Girls Attack on Titan podcast. I'm Momtaku, and drum roll.
I'm Luna, and I'm back.
I'm excited to have Luna this month. Thank God she's back. And also happy to introduce our chapter 137 guest. We've invited my friend Underscore, who is a mod on the AndrewAllStars Discord. And of course, back again for his chapter, AndrewAllStars. Welcome, guys.
Hello, thank you for having me again. Since 132, and this will be an interesting podcast, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we promised to have you back when Zeke finally died, so here you are.
Yeah, here I am. Yeah. We'll see how
I can
it plays
hear
out.
this. The absolute sadness.
Stop laughing! Stop laughing! It's not fair.
And we're also happy to have Underscore, a mod on the Andrew All-Star server. Welcome, Underscore.
Hello. It's me. Thank you for making me be on this podcast. It's an honor.
We're excited to have you. So we always start off with chapter impressions, and I honestly have not, other than Andrew, have no idea what Underscore or Luna think about this chapter. So let's go ahead and start there. So this is just a couple of minutes. Did you love it? Did you hate it? I mean, we'll get into the details, but just your initial impressions. Andrew, why don't you start?
I'll start with what I liked.
Well, that will be short.
Guess.
Okay.
Yeah. I've obviously been to the chapter a couple more times, and I liked Armin's commentary about the little things in life. For being the reason for being alive are the little things, and I thought that really did work nicely in regards to Zeke and his connection to Thomas Xavier and the baseball. I thought that was a really nice touch. Zeke's explanation about life and everything else, I thought was decent enough. I would have liked a bit more substance with their conversation, but it was fine. I liked the Titan designs, as I do every month in recent months. I think the Titan designs are really good that Isayama has gone all out with. There were some shots that I liked towards the end with Eren's head falling off, and you got his long hair draping down the Titan's body, or just draping down. I thought that looked really cool. It looked like a bit of a rocker, a bit of a metalhead there in that moment, in that shot. But apart from that, that's probably about it when it comes to what I really liked. Oh, Levi's face when he kills Zeke, I really like that as well. But I guess that's for later on.
Did your face look like Levi's at that moment as well? Or
yes, it did.
I guess
it did. And I was just, that was just the thing. Yeah. I didn't like the pacing. I didn't like the whole thing with pathways. I thought it was a bit contrived. The whole thing with certain characters coming back, and the pacing was all over the place. Felt a bit rushed. However, I don't think that it broke the manga. There was nothing that felt like it was completely destroying it, but it really did feel like it was, as I said before, really badly paced. I'd probably give it a 5 out of 10 at best. But yeah, that's my overall view.
And what about you, Underscore?
It's a fine chapter. I'd say it's not the best, of course. I'd still enjoy it more than 135. It's a very thematic chapter. I think its themes are strong and it holds up. But outside of that, I think some moments, like the direction of the story, is probably not what I wanted it to go. But I can't really fault the chapter for being a decent interpretation.
And Luna?
I mean, for me, this was a chapter that I didn't, I finished reading it and I still didn't know how to think about it. And now I still am conflicted because there were parts that I liked, parts that I disliked. I liked that we finally got away from the message that children are the only thing that makes life worth living. Finally we get something else. So that is something that I did appreciate about the talk that Armin had with Zeke. The origin of life story, a bit strange. Not sure if that was necessary. And I did enjoy, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, seeing all the previous Titan shifters that we know and love. And yeah, I'm here for Reiner Helos. So it's a mixed bag for me, this chapter, really.
And for me, I guess, okay, I was thinking about this last night. We were in the Discord kind of discussing the direction this series has gone. And Momtaku of 2016 I would have shredded this chapter because I felt like it undid some of the rules that were established. And I cared a lot more about the rules back then. I was all about trying to make sense of this universe. And I think I gave that up about a year and a half ago. 2 years ago, I gave up making sense. And I just, you know what? I'm along for the ride. I actually read this chapter in the car on the way home from visiting some family, and it moved me. It's the first time I've cried in a long time. I can't believe I cried over Zeke Jaeger, but I
No.
did. And I did. And, you know, when the theme is presented, like you said, about the beauty and the everyday, I just can't hate it. Like I can't hate it. It works for me. So yeah, world building, 2016, I would have hated this chapter. Now, as somebody who is literally just reading it to kind of finish it off, I loved it. So I guess for me, I would say like a 7 of 10.
I like the point that you made about like just reading it to finish it. Like I think that for me as well, like since I think probably a long time ago, I used to really love the manga, go through it all the time and everything else a lot more. But I think I'm kind of just along for the ride. Like, yeah, I'll react to it and I'll get, emotional, whatever else. But afterwards, I'm like, it is what it is, and it's good fun. It's the friends you made along the way. That's the message here for this manga.
I mean, right now you just want it to end, don't you? Like you we're so close at the finish line. You just want to go through. I relate to Isayama's comments about the marathon.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, once your favorite character dies, it's just so much easier just to like let go of like I don't live in anxiety every chapter anymore. It's like all the characters I care about are gone, and it is what it is.
Well, good for you, because for me it's going to be 139 chapters of pure horror. Thank you. No, but I kind of feel the same way as you guys. I was kind of like, a bit scared to say that because I thought I would be the only one. But yeah, that's how I feel. I'm not as enamored with this manga as I used to be, and I'm just kind of here for the ride. Like, let's see how it ends. But I think in the beginning of this arc, or like post-Marley arc, I had some gripes, and I was hoping that he would kind of go back to form when it came to the ending, but it's kind of been just more of a continuation of what we had. And I think that's why I'm also at peace with it, because it's like not as good as it used to be, but yeah, the quality didn't really drop that much over the past 10, 20 chapters. It's just been consistently lower than it was before.
I have to agree with that completely because, well, obviously, past few days I've been going through War for Paradise arc, or the past couple of months, what have you, on my own stream and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone through 112, 113 the past couple of days. But obviously, with those chapters, like the quality there and the substance behind it, I feel is of a higher degree than what we're getting at present. But I think the underlying issue is back then there were so many questions unanswered, there were so many plot points still moving forward, with open-ended positions. Whereas now we're coming to the closure, so I think naturally the closure is always going to be disappointing in hindsight compared to getting to that conclusion, if that makes sense. But with that in mind, yes, I think the quality of writing has somewhat dropped, but it's nothing overly dramatic, as Luna said. You don't read it and think, well, I did this chapter, but generally speaking, it's not the be all and end all. It's not like the manga's being destroyed because of the recent chapters. It's still coherent, as Underscore said. The thematic points of this chapter do work as well, so it's still, it still works, even if it's not as good a quality in writing, I suppose.
The conversation has been for a long time that Isayama's rushing the ending, and we got a little bit of actually, I guess, verification of that in a recent tweet from the editor that they made the decision to end it, that they felt like it could have gone on for much longer. And I do feel like that decision to end it, like where Isayama shined was in his character development, the conversations, the interactions. And that's basically, we're waiting for a little bit more of that. But what he has to do now is just conclude the manga. And it feels like a lot of stuff is being sacrificed just because he needs the alliance to do this. He needs this to happen now. We have to wrap this up here. And maybe it was when he was allowed to meander that it was or maybe the meandering here was wrong. Like, I don't know. We've been in this battle now for 15 chapters, and they still haven't attacked Eren yet. It just seems like something is seriously missing from these last 10 chapters or so. And I just, maybe it's the sacrificing of character development, or maybe it's just we miss Eren, which is, again, words I never thought I would say.
These chapters does strange things to people.
When you mentioned, of course, the development, which I have to agree with, like, I think, again, because for people that I've spoken to or read comments from, this arc has been, as you said, because it's coming to the conclusion, or because Isayama has to finish the manga, it seems that it's kind of rushing ahead a lot of the time. And that development that people often look back on and enjoy does stem from earlier arcs. Whereas I think this arc, while it does have some development, it mostly is just moving the plot forward, not as quickly as possible, but it seems that certain things are dropped into it without much context to work with. Now, I know you've got the whole Falco Flying Titan thing, and I accept it for what it is personally now in hindsight. But again, you've got little things like that pop up, and contextually that could have probably been worked a little bit better, I think, in hindsight as well. But again, as you said, Momtaku, perhaps because we're getting towards the end and he has to finish it, we don't have time for all of this to make it feel more well done, if you get what I'm saying. Or perhaps that's just me.
We published the poll yesterday, and so far we've gotten 1,112 responses. And usually, that's a good sample size. We know what people are thinking at this point. And while it's still a very well-liked chapter, we definitely have a dominant number on a scale from 1 to 5 of people who selected that 4 and 5. When we average those numbers, we've been keeping records for, 46 chapters now, I think?
Since 91, yeah.
Okay. And this one is way down the list. It's not as bad as some. The average is over 4. I think the average is on a scale from 1 to 5, 4.05. But that still puts it at 10th worst.
That's not really a low score, though.
I know, right?
It's quite when we're dealing with numbers that high, it feels kind of redundant to put them in a list. I don't know.
Well, the lowest is a 3.65, so even that's better than average. The numbers are all sort of tightly packed there. And maybe in retrospect, back in chapter 91, when we started asking this question, we should have done a 1 to 10 scale, and we would have been able to fine tune that more. But it's been 1 to 5 all this time, so that's what we have to work with. So I know we've touched on it a little bit, but I don't think there's any denying the rage this chapter. This chapter had certain segments of the fandom nonstop seething. Underscore, you're a mod in Andrew's server. What has that experience been like this week?
I don't want to talk about it too much. It was impossible to have a functional conversation in the Attack on Titan chat when the chapter dropped, for example. It was just complete anarchy. But outside of that, it's been better now, though there isn't much conversation outside of memes and shitposts about people's displease.
I pop in every few minutes, and there's a few people there who are not ready to let go of this dead horse. They want to keep kicking it, but
it's kind of funny because we're also in the Titan Tea Time server, me and Momtaku, and we usually call that the chill server. But even with this chapter, there's been a lot of heated discussion going on about how this was not the way they wanted to see it end.
It does seem like it depends which community you're in as to whether or not you liked or hated this chapter. It was very community-based, your reaction. But what I did was our friend Velocious, we all know him, he made a 12-minute video about everything that was wrong with this chapter.
Oh, Lord.
And yes. Have you watched it, Andrew?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
And it's glorious Velocious style.
It's glorious Velocious. We will link to it in the comments below. So by all means, if you hated this chapter, Velocious's 12-minute rant is for you. But I went through it and I kind of bullet itemed out his complaints, which he goes through them one by one. So that was not difficult to do. And I thought to kick off the discussion, I want to go ahead and read the criticisms. And I want you guys, this will be like a quick fire, kind of just like a yes or no as to whether or not it bothers you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the order, I guess, will be underscore Andrew, Luna, me. The first major complaint is the existence of Hallucigenia, that it downgrades Eren's character because the final villain isn't Eren, it's a worm. And he highlighted the fact that, at the end of this chapter, Reiner should be fighting Eren. He's not. He's wrestling a worm. Is that a problem?
I'd say no. I wouldn't call it a problem, but I would want it to be the other option.
Okay. You'd prefer it to be Eren.
Yeah.
Andrew?
I agree with underscore. But again, I'm hesitant to say yes or no, depending on what happens next chapter and the chapter afterwards. But I would underscore on this one.
Okay.
I still feel that it's Eren. The worm, the sea creature from ancient times, or before that even, was the one who gave him the power, but it's still Eren's motivations that led to all of this. So even though I think Reiner is tackling the worm now, I think there will still be a fight between him and Eren. So I'm not that bothered by it at this point. But if there's no Eren versus Reiner, then yeah, I will be.
When we met the spine creature, I assumed we would get a little bit more about it, but I wasn't expecting him to become a major character. So I'm...
Is he?
I mean...
Is he even a sentient creature? Maybe it's just like, an amoeba type.
I mean, would you put a spine creature in your character tier list? S
I
tier,
know.
D tier?
I was talking in a Discord yesterday to a friend who is hoping to catch up with the series, doesn't mind spoilers, and I gave her just a quick, 2-sentence about what this chapter was, and I was like, Reiner's wrestling a worm that's trying to get back in Eren's head, and she thought I was lying. Okay, like.
Oh man, that's a great description of just like how absurd this chapter can be. On the first read.
It's very absurd.
Granted, spoilers, when we get the leak, sometimes it's like that. We get this very out of context thing that makes, like, I remember one of the spoilers was Hanji gives Falco a bubble bath, and we were all so confused. But this one, the actual summary would, even full context, would leave people with that same sense of, no way, that's not the chapter. All right, number 2. He highlighted Ymir's Isekai existence, that basically she created this alternate world for a desire for connection, and the frustration that Eren's strong connection with her, which many people embraced, was not based on freedom from slavery or any of those things. She just wanted friends. What do you think?
I think that's cute in a sense. It's like a child just wants, connection in some sense. Yeah. I like that idea. Yeah.
If you'd asked me this on Monday, I would have said I don't like it. If you asked me it now, honestly, I think Underscore said it really nicely. It's cute in a way, but I do think it's lacking. I think it's a little bit too simplistic, just wanting a connection. I think, I do like the idea that she did want to get away from slavery like Eren, but as a combination of both of those things, I'd like it. So it's hit and miss for me, I think.
Yeah, I agree exactly with Andrew, because we saw in chapter 122, like her longing gaze towards the couple that was about to kiss. So you can tell that she wanted some sort of connection. But on the other hand, she also tried to release the pigs. And I don't think she had like some sort of connection with the pigs. It was just she wanted to set them free because they were enslaved the same way that she was. So I felt like it was more of a combination of those two. So I hope it's not reduced to just the connection thing, but we'll see. We'll have to wait.
I do feel sorry for Eren fans who kind of embraced that moment of Eren's apparent compassion and her reaction to it, because now it feels like that's been taken away from them. I mean, not that Eren did it. He definitely did show a moment of compassion towards Ymir. I do think that was authentic. But I understand their frustration that now, once again, Eren's not special. Like, Eren had this one thing. He freed Ymir from slavery, and now they've taken it away. It's like, nope, she just wanted friends. She's so fickle. She'll go with whoever smiles at her.
But he is special because he was born into this world.
Yeah, but everyone is special because they're born into this world. So if everyone's special, then...
No one is. Oh, everyone is super and no one is.
The only thing that I am thinking about is, like, I'm sure she had some sort of connection with her daughters at least. But so far the story's making it sound like no, she didn't have any connection with them as well.
That's an interesting point, that, actually. Yeah, we don't really get to see anything like that, which would have been kind of... it would have been a nice dynamic, I think, to showcase that for Ymir. Because we don't really get to see any kind of human bonding with her at all, do we?
No.
So even something that small would have been, likable, at least for me as a reader.
Okay, the next criticism is that this is the big one. Zeke could have acted at any point. Instead, he just sat there having an existential crisis while waiting for Godmen to arrive.
Oh, God. These memes. Among Godming.
I know, Velocious.
Underscore, does that bother you?
I mean, like, not really. You can always complain about talk no jutsu and stuff like that, but I'm not really that bothered about it, to be honest. I think it was a fine moment. I'm reminiscing about their experiences, because it wasn't really Armin that made Zeke change. It's more his own thoughts that got awakened by Armin's dialogue, because he's the one who continues the conversation afterwards. I think it's clear that he already shown some sort of rebellion, at least because he's already like contacted other shifters, like Bertolt and Grisha. So yeah, I'm fine with it.
So Andrew, what about you?
I completely disagree. 100% disagree about his opinion about Zeke on this. I mean, I'll keep it brief, but Zeke didn't act because after what happened with Eren and after what happened with seeing his father, the guy probably just lost the entire plot. I think his commentary at the start of this chapter was a little bit weird, because he's been sat there, didn't really, you know what Zeke's like. He's emotional, likes winning, and he was just kind of moping around. And I think it fits that Zeke didn't really do anything, just until somebody came along and kind of gave him a pat on the shoulder and kind of lifted him up a little bit. So yeah, I think it works nicely. But we can get into it later.
So for me, I understand Zeke kind of sitting there and not knowing what to do because he thinks it's all over for him. Like he doesn't have any control over the situation anymore. So he wasn't just sitting around waiting for Armin. He was just kind of sitting around because he thought he was powerless. And it wasn't really Armin showing him like what the beauty of life is. It was kind of more Armin reminding him, and then him seeing Ksaver again and Grisha, I guess, that kind of put him back into action. So I'm not terribly upset that Armin and Zeke had that conversation and that made Zeke do something, but I also can understand why he didn't do anything before. Also, he spent like half an eternity probably in paths. Like, I don't know how many years it felt for him, so it's not like he waited a day and he was like, I guess I can't do anything.
So I didn't mind the conversation. I love the conversation, and I love that it moved Zeke to act. But it's more, this point for me was more about the mechanics, because the chapter starts out with Zeke saying, I don't know if I can get out of here. And then a few pages later, it jumps to him out the spire waving at Levi. And I wish we had more of that. Like, I feel like there's a whole conversation that we're missing involving the mechanics of the world. So for me, this is a maybe. I don't mind that Zeke could have acted at any point, but didn't. I want to know how he acted. I want, not why. I understand why. I want to know how. And I don't know that we're going to get that.
Plot convenience. I feel like a lot of rules are being bent at this point to
Agreed.
move the plot forward.
I don't really know if it's rules being bent. It's like there wasn't even any rules explained to begin with, really properly, I'd say. I mean, it sucks. Maybe he'd left it open so he could bend it in the future. I don't really know, but I want a concrete, set in stone rule set of paths, so it doesn't feel like plot convenience then.
So the next criticism was that the dead Titans suddenly returning to fight was disappointing and too Avengers-like. And I think that this whole Marvel Avengers is a large criticism in certain communities. Does it bother you that the ending of this series is apparently at this point like an Avengers Marvel movie? Does it bother you, the mechanics of how they're winning, I guess?
I mean, I would like to see a little more tragedy on behalf of the Avengers, but who knows? The Alliance might lose a little armory boy next chapter. But I'm split on it. It depends how it ends, because we haven't seen the entire event yet.
And what about just the resurrection of the Titans?
That specifically.
Yeah.
I thought it was a cool way of using past shifters. Not really a good way, but a fun way, I would say.
That's a good way to put it. It's a fun way, not necessarily a good way.
For me, for the Titan shifters, for Grisha and Kruger to return, I absolutely hated it, and it's the one thing in this chapter I can't stand with a passion. And maybe it fits thematically, maybe it does work, but that's not going to change my mind. I absolutely hate it. I honestly, like, everything else in this chapter, okay, that no. You bring Kruger back on screen, you bring Grisha back on screen for this, for them just to do this. I get it. I get it works. if you want to, argue it. But no, I absolutely detest it. I'm sorry. It's like, you can tell the anger in my voice. I'm actually angry right now just talking about it. I'm sorry. I'm so angry. Anyway, sorry.
I mean,
the Avengers thing?
Yeah.
Sorry,
go ahead. Finish.
The Avengers thing, I think that I have to agree with Underscore on that a little bit. Like, I think that these past handful of chapters, going through them together, I think will make it a lot more these chapters kind of flow with each other really well. So I think the whole Avengers situation, I don't want to jump into that until the final couple of chapters again. But I do understand the complaints that there seems to be a lot of hit and miss. Characters don't seem to end up... They get out of sticky situations continuously. And it's nothing new in Attack on Titan, characters getting out of sticky situations, but it does feel like it is getting a little bit too convenient, I suppose. But that's it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was hinted at before that there was some sort of consciousness maybe there, but why all of a sudden do people that are still alive in the real world need to be empaths to kind of make sure that the people who were shifters before can now take control of their consciousness? I don't know. It's a bit weird. I also just don't understand what Kruger was doing there. Where were all the other shifters before? Why was Ksaver's Titan a fucking ram and not a mole? What was this chapter? I mean, I did like seeing Ymir again and Porco and Marcel and them protecting, and Bert, I guess, as well, protecting Reiner and Peak and Annie, so that works. Everything else also kind of but why?
So I, of course, am 0% surprised that this happened, and I'm very happy because I've been predicting this. And my bingo card, my final chapter bingo, is looking awesome. Let me just say, I'm like, all I need now is Historia's baby to be a shifter, and I've got a bingo already.
Oh, no. I am looking less lucky about my bingo card.
So, yeah, I kind of thought it was coming. If it's cheesy, if it's cheap, whatever. It's the story that I saw happening. So maybe not. I mean, I knew Ymir would be back. There was no way she wouldn't. Her death, this whole concept of the dead, still having a consciousness, I think has been established enough that it's not out of nowhere. Yeah, it felt set up to me. So I can't argue it too much. It's not out of nowhere. All right. Zeke waving to Levi felt like a joke. Did that bother you, Underscore?
Not really. I enjoyed that moment. I don't have much to say about it, though.
Okay. Andrew?
You're not going to believe this. I hated that reaction. I love it now. I think it's good. I actually think it's great. But yeah, I think rereading chapter 112, 113 recently has actually just kind of made me kind of, see things and we'll get into it, of course. But yeah, I like it.
Okay. That's surprising to hear, considering your initial reaction.
I know. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's true to Zeke's nature. He's always been this goofy dude in a way, so I don't mind him waving. I do kind of, I think it's sad that it was so short and almost meaningless, like his death. He didn't get,
Yeah, some dialogue would be nice between him and
well, maybe
Levi.
We'll get it next chapter, but if this was it, then it feels a bit empty in a way.
I think all character deaths, you kind of want more. I remember thinking that with Colt, with Porco, with Shadas, with Magath. They always leave you wanting. They're good deaths, but they leave you wanting.
Oh yeah, well, they're all warrior side except for Shadas that you mentioned.
I know. I enjoyed it, and I was hoping for a little more banter between them because the banter with Levi and Zeke is always fantastic, but it worked for me. I thought this was fantastic. And Zeke is such a nerd. Andrew, why do you love? You picked honestly the dorkiest character to have as your favorite. I admire that.
There's just so much charm to him. That's why there's just so much to him, isn't there? There wasn't originally, but I guess I kind of saw it to start with. I just there's something more about this guy, and yeah.
And the last point that Velocious highlighted, and I think we're probably all going to agree with this one, or at least agree with it for now, is that the battle continually feels like there are no real stakes for the Alliance.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
100%, yeah.
I mean, a smart way to do it would be a death per chapter, but maybe we don't have time for that because it will take up more pages. And yeah, manga soon ending. But I totally agree with Velocious on that point. It's my biggest complaint with these later chapters and this final battle. But so far, it's not over. We might see deaths, but that won't save the earlier parts of them having barely any stakes.
Yeah, I guess I have to agree, but yeah, I don't know. I thought more people would have died by now. On the other hand, it's also like, Connie is expendable at this point, but does it really add anything if he dies to the story? It's better just to have him alive and not really appear just be there in the background. Be like a nice house plant that doesn't really bother anyone.
Yeah, so this is a gripe of mine as well. Like Luna was saying, every death so far has been people over the age of 25 and warriors. And it's, we haven't, the 104th has, since Trost has lost Sasha. That's it. The end, Sasha. It does feel like there's no stakes for them.
And I feel like in the end, there's like an opportunity to kill them off because you won't use them anymore. Like they're not, you won't use them because the manga is ending. So you have no reason to keep them alive.
Like Luna, you mentioned that I agree with you on the point that you said that killing off characters just for the sake of doing it and it wouldn't hold much weight afterwards, I agree with. And I think that's maybe fundamentally a problem with the writing itself and how quick it's gone. The whole Handry and Flock death I thought was done really well. I mean, I did have complaints about the pacing of Handry in one chapter, but looking at that compared to now, I'm more appreciative of it, and I think had we had more setup, perhaps in earlier chapters like 134, 135, 136, then perhaps we could have had those deaths be impactful in this chapter or otherwise, but that hasn't happened, like you said. So doing it now, it wouldn't work, would it really?
I think if they had met with their parents, if Falco had brought them down to their families, then maybe there would have been some setup to have them die, and it would be like heartbreaking in some form. But
agreed. Yeah, that would have been nice.
But now there's nothing really.
It would have been nice for example, Annie to die without meeting her father again, but she knew she could protect him, for example.
Yeah, well,
I mean that would be a nice moment.
It might still happen.
Who knows?
Maybe next month.
And then Armin will be the forever virgin again. Back to Armand.
Yeah.
Armand. Just love that word so much. It's so dumb. I just love it. It's so stupid.
It's so powerful. It brings energy to the conversation.
It does. Armand.
I like how on most everybody's final chapter bingo, there was some statement about Armin's big brain moment. And I saw somebody in parentheses put, but it's actually really, really obvious because there's never been a big brain moment that's not really, really, really obvious. I love Armin. And I know, Andrew, I was listening to your stream and I know you defend him, but it is, you want to upset any conversation, especially one with the plot chads, just drop in a positive comment about Armin and you'll get 3 hours of screaming.
Yeah, I like Armin. He's a good lad.
All right. So the chapter opened with the Cambrian explosion, and I don't know that we really have a lot. I think the funniest thing about that was just the reaction from the fandom when it was leaked. What did you think about the origins of life being included? Or I guess the better question would be, are we all assuming that this is the origin of the actual parasite that made a connection with Ymir? Is that the assumption we're supposed to have? What do you think?
I mean, I'd assume so. But in all honesty, I would prefer it to be. It would be like, yeah, I want to know more about the parasite. That's how I acted in 122, and no, it's fine. We don't need to know more. I think it's better to just have left it open in a sense.
Yeah, I agree with Underscore. I think it should have been kept open. With that in mind, though, I don't mind it, honestly. I think that, it does go back to our own evolution. And I think it kind of showcases, of course, that essentially, Titans and humans were just evolved, at that time, just kind of subsets from each other. And, because obviously the parasite itself created Titan life, essentially. And I think it works given this little backstory to how it, started like all other life. It just so happened to be, of course, a subset of that. And, I think Zeke explaining it was a little bit strange, but I think he spent so much time in Pathways. Maybe that's kind of an explanation as to how he, figured all this out or knew it. Or perhaps, again, it's because, of course, when he was alive, he kind of knew it anyway. But yeah, it works. It's exposition that we didn't really need, but I welcome it all the same, if I'm being honest with you. I welcome it for what it is.
I thought what was good about it was it was the opening that led right into Zeke's perspective on life, or how Zeke viewed life. I'm kind of with you guys that I didn't necessarily need a big explanation for the Titan origins, but I was really impressed that Isayama dropped it in there and then built it around Zeke's life perspective about why life continues and what's the purpose of life, and just that whole existential stuff that he was getting into. So. And I did love Zeke. I remember when we first saw Zeke, the panel that was revealed at the exhibit I think it was in Ueno, Royal Exhibit, something, 2014. Zeke is sitting there with his little glasses on, looking really thoughtful. We have no idea who he is, but he's presented as the key to the story. And I remember thinking he looked just like, incredibly nerdy. I had a lot of ideas about who I thought he was that didn't come out, didn't happen. He ends up, my perspectives changed, but now he's back to being this like nerdy guy sitting in the sand, building sandcastles, talking about science with another science dude. And it just really, I don't know. I loved it.
Yeah. And apparently most people agree with you looking at the poll, because about 50% of the respondents say it was awesome to see the connection to real world evolution. And another 25% were like, yeah, origin of the spine creature. And the rest was kind of like, I'm not too sure about it, which is where I fall. I'm like, was this necessary? Did we need this? Couldn't these panels have been spent on something better? But yeah, I think I said it in a previous podcast that the spine creature was like too vague for me, and I wanted more explanation about it, and now I got it, and now I'm like, no, this is unnecessary.
So Andrew, you're someone who's been very open about loving Zeke and loving his character. And I guess when I read this, I thought about you. Did this work for you? Did it fit? Did anything here not fit what you knew about Zeke as a character? Did this additional information on his perspective of life and so on, did it work?
Originally, I didn't put much thought into it when reading out my reaction, I suppose. So at the time, no. But now, yeah, I don't think there's anything here that feels it's out of place with Zeke. I think, again, based upon his attitude, how downtrodden he looks, how he's coming across to Armin, and how Armin responds to him almost kind of bewildered by this, I think it fits with Zeke's persona and how I think he would kind of look. I think Isayama knows Zeke quite well in how he's written him in this chapter, in the entire chapter, actually. So reading it, it works, yes. I think I don't know how to explain myself, but Zeke sat there pondering and feeling defeated after what happened with Grisha, after the euthanasia plan had all backfired. Zeke, he likes to win. And he gets salty or he gets angry and everything else when he doesn't. There's more to him than just that, of course. But yeah, I think him sat here defeated, him kind of just, lost in himself, building sandcastles like a little child, kind of not reminiscing, but, because Zeke is a big child, he never, apart from Thomas, he never really had that kind of family connection. And, he was a warrior like other characters, but his experience is a lot more timid. I think he's a very insecure person inside. And I think just seeing him here building sandcastles, kind of dwelling upon his own existence and the existence of humanity, it works. And I think it's charming. And him and Armin together, honestly, I speak for myself probably, but him and Armin have needed to be on screen for such a long time. And I like the fact it's Armin that does express himself, because Armin's a very insecure person as well. And Armin's very, emotionally vulnerable, and so is Zeke. And it's kind of nice to see this little bit of, commentary from them both here to each other, expressing themselves and their feelings. Although Zeke, of course, is a little bit less about himself. I think it works. And the whole thing with the baseball and the leaf, that was charming. And that was great. That was sweet. And, I liked it. And I think it was done really nicely. The whole thing with looking at, an item, an object, living in the moment, between Armin looking at the leaf and Zeke looking at the baseball. Yeah, it works. It's really nice, really cute. I'm not describing it properly, but yeah, I liked it.
When did you fall in love with Zeke as a character? What was the moment?
it's going to be surprising. When I first was introduced to the Beast Titan, I loved the design, the character design. When I started getting into the manga in the Shiganshina arc, reading it at my own time, not being part of the community, and Zeke had that speech, his first big speech, if you will, against Owen, the suicide charge, then. So basically his proper first introduction straight away. And he was the first person, my first ever video on YouTube ever, about Attack on Titan was, is Zeke Jaeger a villain? With a question mark. That was my first ever video. And this was back when the Marley arc was probably on chapter 94, 95. At that point,
wow.
I made a video questioning Zeke's personality. I don't know why. Don't know what connected. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was fate. Love at first sight. I'm not sure. But generally speaking, yeah, I've always loved this character from kind of his first real introduction when he was a bad guy. From that point, yeah.
It's risky making a video about somebody that early in the series. How does it hold up?
It was back in 2017, so it would have been in about early 2017 when I first made it. Does it hold up? Yes, the editing style was terrible. My commentary, and it looks bad, it played bad, but the points still work. My argument was, of course, that Zeke is a bad guy, but essentially there's more to him. The guy himself has a lot going. I mean, there was a lot of assumption in the video, but it does hold up. I think it does. I mean, I can't watch it anymore. I don't have it anymore. But yeah, I think it does hold up, but it's very outdated in the content that I'm talking about, if that makes sense. I mean, the likes to dislike ratio was quite positive as well. Bearing in mind it was my first video, it got a positive reception. I think it was like 1 out of 8 likes to dislikes, which was interesting.
I mean, I think you bring up points that are quite relevant even today about Zeke. When people analyze Zeke, they rarely talk about like his earlier appearances, which especially now, where you would talk more about his Marley and the things that happens in Paths and stuff, and his backstory, stuff like that. That's usually what people talk about. But I like that you focus more on the small moments we had with him, for example, in Return to Shiganshina.
You're not disappointed with how his character developed. Falling in love with him back in chapter 84, whatever. You're not at all disappointed.
I know a lot of people were disappointed with his backstory. They wanted the euthanasia plan to be something... No, they wanted his character to be kind of more evil or more sinister, less human, because it made him kind of more cool. I loved his backstory. I loved his humanization. I thought it was fantastic. That just made me fall in love with him completely. And yes, when I thought he died in chapter 115, I did start crying on stream. That was perfectly done. That was so well done, because in that moment it was built up. You had Zeke dying there, looking back on memories, and his eyes went black, and I started crying. Like, this was so well done. It's been obviously built up. I mean, I think for some people it's like, well, all this context, why would you kill him off now? But obviously I wasn't thinking about that in the moment. And then it was brought about the same chapter, and I got so pissed off and angry. Like, how dare you make me cry halfway through a chapter killing off Zeke just to bring him back at the end, okay? But yeah, I like the way he's been developed, the way that he's gone. I love the whole thing in Pathways, of course, with his exposition with Grisha. I think the only disappointing thing is this chapter when it comes to the lack of exposition and dialogue with Grisha. But that's another kind of worms we'll talk about later, I assume. But the start of this chapter with Armin, the commentary about what makes life important, loved it. All the way up until Grisha and the other Stifters appear. All up until that moment when he turns around and looks at them. Up until that moment, I think it was fantastic for Zeke. And the conclusion was great with Levi, but I guess that's for later as well, perhaps.
I guess I asked you all those questions because I got Zeke so wrong from the beginning that, this has all been kind of pleasant surprises for me. And sometimes when you latch onto a character early, you're setting yourself up either for disappointment if they go a direction you don't think they're going to go, or, a lot of people start to, regret picking their favorites, or, they were wrong about that. I was wrong about Zeke. You apparently were right about Zeke and stayed right about him. And
pure chance. But
it's the gift that keeps on giving in that case.
I find it strange as well that you have like Zeke and even like Flock Forrester. Flock had a great ending, I think, for his character and what it was a part of in the actual story. There could have been more done with him, I suppose, wasted potential in some ways. But, I think Isayama does have a really good way of finishing characters. Not all of them, but I think so far Erwin, even Zeke for the most part, he's got a good way of ending character stories. But we'll see how that plays out with the current cast, of course, in the coming month.
So what about the rest of you? Did you find Zeke's change of heart believable?
Yeah, I do. Not really most conflicting opinions here for me, but I think I agree mostly with Andrew about Zeke. I'm not that much of a Zeke connoisseur as him, so I can't really go into detail about his development here being realistic or not, but I enjoyed his moments when he talked to Ksaver, for example, and his father, Grisha. And the talk with Armin. I like his development, and his moments in the chapters were nice. That's all I can say.
That's a good way to put it. I'm not a Zeke connoisseur either, so that's why. What about you, Luna?
I mean, I felt like it was just a continuation of what we've seen from Zeke's character with his backstory with Ksaver, and then when Eren took him back through time with Grisha. So I didn't see it as a change of heart. It's just, he had given up, and Armin was kind of just there to remind him that there were still possibilities that he hadn't thought of, which, okay, it's fine. It's not my... I think, the only thing that I take issue with Zeke in this chapter is just the beginning, like the exposition of life. That feels, and the whole explanation of multiplying, that felt a bit off to me. But other than that, I felt it was true to his character.
So looking at the poll this month, only 16% didn't like it. Everybody else seems to be on board. They think that Zeke's character development here was, like you were saying, Luna, just more the same in what was to be expected.
Can I ask a question, sorry, about the fandom that you might be able to answer, Momtaku and Luna? Well, maybe even two as can answer it too, but what's the general reception to Zeke by the general fandom at this point, or at least even before this chapter? Do people like him a lot more now? Like, do people appreciate his character a lot more? What's the general outlook on him as an actual person? I mean, he's done a lot of bad things, but yeah, do they like him? Does the fandom like him?
I think so.
We have that on the poll, actually. We asked, has your opinion of Zeke changed with this chapter? And I wanted it to be kind of a more open-end, like how has your opinion of Zeke changed? But the rest of the poll team wanted this focused on this chapter. And you're going to like this, Andrew. 10%, I still am not a fan. That's it, 10%.
This sounds so cringy, but that really warms my heart and makes me... I'm actually sat here smiling. That sounds so... Just because people... It's not because people... It's not like, yes, I was right. It's not even nothing to do with that. It's just people like his character and appreciate him. And that's something that I've always wanted, because after all the shit he's got, which is understandable, it's just good to see compared to back in the Waffle Paradise arc, how people see him now. That's just heartwarming for me as a reader, I think, as a fan of him.
That was the worst option. I'm still not a fan. There's another 20% that said, I've softened to him, but I don't particularly like him. I don't know which one I would go with. The next option up was, this improved my opinion of him. I wouldn't have minded being with him longer. And then 50% of the fandom, I liked him even before this chapter. So I don't know which one of those I fall into. I mean, my opinion of him is definitely improved. I like him as a character. I still can't forgive him for what he's done. Like, he killed my guy.
I still remember when Zeke's backstory chapter was coming up, and you were adamant that you were not going to like Zeke no matter how sad and tragic his backstory was. And then Isayama got you. He got you bad.
He got me bad. He got me bad on Ksaver too. So I was totally dead wrong about Ksaver.
Can I just hear that one more time, please?
I was dead wrong about Ksaver.
Luna, what do you think about that? Because remember, and because I'm not trying to take over, sorry, because I know that we had this conversation in 132 as well, didn't we? I just want to know if you've
when it comes to Ksaver, no, I still think he is creepy. And I feel like there's backstory there that we're not getting. There's just something not adding up with that dude. And he's a ram, like his Titan form, which is like basically a devil. So I'm trusting him even less at this point. Not sorry.
It should have been a whale.
That's funny. That's funny. That's great. I love it.
So it's too soon to tear up our Ksaver
for me, yeah,
definitely meta. We can
still
keep them in our
suspicious,
archives.
but I don't think we're going to get any payoff. At this point. But yeah, for me, it's if you were to ask me, like, has your opinion changed with this chapter? Not based on this chapter, but I think my opinion has changed. But I still don't consider him one of my favorites. Sorry. He's just, I don't know, maybe a bit too goofy and weird and out there for me to really like him.
What is this? How dare you? take that back right now.
People that like the alpha male characters, like the stoic Chad, like they've lost so many characters now. If that's the kind of character that you like, the goats Chad, like they're all nerds. Every one of these guys is nerds. Except, well, even Erwin's a nerd. Like, are there any like really solid alpha male Chad characters left in the story, or have they all been?
Yeah, just Eren and Keith. Keith died, so yeah. No more Keith the Shad.
Eren, who has impregnated Historia from like outer space. I don't know.
It's the founding Titan power. He can transfer his
Hallucigenia dick into.
Okay,
have fun with that.
So one thing that I really loved, and I wanted to see the fallout from Zeke's conversation with his father in paths. Like I wanted the "I love you" and the hug. Like how much did that affect Zeke? And I actually was really impressed this chapter that the answer to that is not so much. Like when he thanked Grisha and called him dad, I thought that was good. That was enough. But the person that he really gave his love to was Ksaver, and appreciation for life to Ksaver. And that's when I started crying right there.
I like that. I like this small little comment to Ksaver. I mean, it fits into his character, but it shows his change as well. And it's a very nice touch. I would like something more to Grisha, but we already had the hugging scene. So I don't think we can really do something like that again.
Yeah, I think I agree with both of you here on the fact that, of course, I would have liked more from the Grisha and Zeke. But I think, Momtaku, you've nailed it on the head with the fact that it's simple, it's to the point, and the fact that, again, Xavier comes first as a father figure or as somebody that, of course, deserves at least more context to work with regarding Zeke as it does here. And a simple, like, I know, was it, Momtaku, didn't you say at some point that you would never thought he'd call him dad? That it was always going to be Grisha or something similar? Or that there was a...
I mean, I was curious to see, like, there was a lot of criticism back in that chapter that Grisha did not earn Zeke's love, that hug, that apology shouldn't have been enough to change Zeke's mind. So people didn't like that. People that don't have a good relationship with their family, that last minute deathbed apology, they were unmoved by that. So I was curious. I was curious how it would change Zeke as a person.
I think it was handled nicely, yeah, with it being simple to the point. Thank you, Dad. Like, he acknowledges him and kind of understands him, but there's nothing more to it. There's nothing like hugs and tears or anything again like that. It's just done with, and that's, it works. I agree it works, but I would have liked a little bit more to work with the context here. I think we, in that regard. But yeah, it works. And I like what you said at the start, like I said, about Thomas Xavier being the center of Zeke's life as a figure, which
because
again,
Ksaver was always there for him and played with him and took care of him. And I guess what Zeke got from Grisha was like the acknowledgement that he did wrong. And I felt like that probably mattered a lot to him, that Grisha should have done better as a parent. And I think that's what really all he wanted, or all that Grisha could give at that point.
LSJ found a really good meta on Twitter, and I don't know where it was from, so I can't credit this person. I don't know if it was in the Japanese fandom or the English, but this person wrote that Zeke's family wasn't the thing that saved him. Zeke never got the family he wanted, but instead was able to find beauty on life through the moments he had with Ksaver. So it was very individualistic. He was able to find meaning outside of his life, outside of his family, which is realistic, because a lot of times media shows that you can end up having a relationship with your family otherwise, when often that's not the case in the cases of toxic families. The person wrote, I think Isayama did a great job with that message, especially since in Japan, a lot of cultures have that family first mindset. So they thought it was kind of remarkable coming out of Japan that this found family is the one that saved him in the end, that's very unusual coming out of that culture. So I really appreciated that meta.
That was, thank you for sharing that. That's not something I'd actually considered, looking at obviously Japanese families and how it works over there. So thank you for that.
I do think he understands his characters. And I know, like, on Tumblr where I did spend a little bit of time looking at the meta, the thoughts and feelings of Zeke as an antinatalist. I'm not an antinatalist. I'm not in that community, but apparently very well depicted of that life view and how people who have that life view, I guess, who come out of it, what makes the difference. So the antinatalists that I know, or former antinatalists, they are very grateful. They thought that Zeke was going to be punished for that ideology, especially in a manga that makes it appear that children are the future. But Zeke wasn't punished. He was acknowledged. He was treated with respect. And even his change of heart apparently was beautifully done. I mean, you criticize Isayama all you want, but sometimes he gets things really, really well.
I mean, even the change of heart, it wasn't like him like, no, I should have been born. I was wrong about all my ideas. It wasn't like he still kept to his ideals to the very last moments. So it wasn't really a change of heart. It wasn't really like Armin changed his entire thought process in like some Naruto-styled conversation with the big god. So I agree with that completely.
It felt to me more like he acknowledged that it wasn't his job to say if life was worth living. Like he still thought he was right, but maybe it wasn't his job to make that determination for an entire race. I mean, that's kind of how I interpreted it there at the end. We actually got a comment on Twitter from our friend Paris, and Paris wrote, having Armin's hope be the counterpoint to Zeke's nihilism worked for me as someone who vacillates between those two extremes. How did you guys feel about Zeke's final moments? So I guess the point there about Armin's hope being the counterpoint to Zeke's nihilism was effective. I think we all agree with that.
Yeah, I think it works, and I think I think it was Luna. I think both Luna and Scott, you both mentioned that. Of course, it wasn't the driving point to make Zeke act the way that he did, but it was kind of just the oomph to kind of make him, perhaps open his eyes, if you will, to another perspective.
A-ZFAN also had a comment on Twitter. He asks, what is your opinion on the focus on existentialism, and does it tie well into the series themes? And the continuation of that is, was that philosophy 101 lecture really enough to get Zeke and the past shifters on Armin's side? Do you think it's consistent with their motivation? Let's start with the first part. The focus on existentialism and how well does it tie into the series themes?
I like that because I think it does and it doesn't. So like you've got the whole thing of, which again, if you want to go into now, the whole thing of the Titan shifters, Grisha and Kruger and everybody, they kind of, and Bertold in those moments there, are they free? Are they like free to make their own choices? Are they kind of, agents of their own desire? Is that what we're supposed to get away from this chapter? That they're working with Armin and Zeke because they want to? Because I don't know how I feel about that being true in its entirety. I guess they are, but they just come across as just walking. I know it's such a difficult question to answer because yes, but no, I don't know. I don't know if you guys want to answer that a little bit more, but are they free? Are the people in paths free? Are they being used like Ymir's used them in the past from other shifters? I don't know. That's what I'm getting at. Like, is Armin using the shifters? And he's not aware of it. Like, Ymir's been using them for her own need. Like, I don't know what to think about that. Because that's kind of fundamentally the question that he's asking, isn't it? Do they have free will? I don't know. I assume, do they?
Freedom as a concept within Attack on Titan is such an iffy subject. We don't really have a concrete a conception of what it means, really. It's said multiple times throughout the story, but we never really fully understand it, and I don't even know if the characters even understand it completely. It's just something that maybe we'll get more explanations of it later on. I don't know if we will. Maybe it's supposed to be left open to interpretation of what the themes really actually mean. I would prefer that in a way, but I also like answers.
But yeah, existentialism itself, yes, it does tie well into the series themes. Yes, it does. But in this particular example, I'm a little bit on the fence about it. Depending on who you're talking about within the actual manga, which characters, which chapters. But yes, it is a focus, free will and determining what one can do. Yes, it is a big factor, but are we talking about this chapter? Yeah, that's the thing.
It did feel like there was like 3 chapters of content crammed into one chapter, and that's the kind of stuff that got skipped. Like what really happened? We're missing a big scene, and we're missing some viewpoints. We're making assumptions that, they willingly did this and why it happened, how it happened, and so on. It's hard to know.
I mean, I feel like there is some free will going on there, but like why weren't what summoned them? Like what made them finally have that free will in that moment then? It's weird. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that question. It's just, I think that's what's bothering me. Like, why all of a sudden?
Do you think we'll get more?
No. I doubt it. I think this was just like a plot device to kind of help the Alliance out and kind of just to kind of see what the beauty in life is, because that's always been a theme in this series. Like, life is cruel yet beautiful, and Armin and Zeke kind of discovered what their beauty in life was. So to me, it fit with the rest of the series.
Yeah, it's just, there's no way of knowing. At this chapter, again, 2 chapters for the end, and I've got more questions. Like I could add my list of things that I would like answers to has doubled, I guess, because of some of the mechanics of what happened here.
Yeah. Well, if we get an answer to that, then I'll gladly admit that I'm wrong, but I doubt it. So, concerning the second part of AZ-FAN's question, was the Philosophy 101 lecture really enough to get Zeke and the past shifters on Armin's side, and is it consistent with their past motivations?
Right. AZ-FAN. Armin's side? What's this about? Armin's side? It's Armin and Zeke's side. Come on. Like, it's not Armin's side. No, not having that. Like, that's not on. No, I'm joking. He's correct to a degree. Is it consistent with their motivation? No, it's not. But I don't like it because I don't like Kruger and Grisha. Maybe this is a personal thing, and I know you can word it differently, and it would make sense for them acting this way, And I guess with what's happening recently, and fighting for freedom, and characters again with the existential comment making their own choices, again without talking about are they actually free, but is it consistent with their motivations? Right, Kruger I think is one that can be debated about. Would Kruger willingly act in this way in contrast to what he mentions to Grisha and how he acted on Marley originally?
I mean, he wants to free the Eldian people, and Eren is killing the Eldian people right now. So,
Essentially, yes. But again, the idea of what Kruger wants, I agree with that, by the way, but the idea of what Kruger wanted from Grisha is somewhat conflicted anyway, but would that not conflict with what Armin is doing now? Like, I mean, I don't know, that's the thing, like, does it fit? Yes, no, I don't know. Does Grisha and Kruger know what's been happening? Or are they just suddenly popped up after a speech that we didn't get, without context that we don't know about? And just, what were they told? What do they know? Are they looking at everything happening? Like we see Erwin when Hanji dies. Are they looking at the sidelines? Are they seeing through pathways what's happening in the real world? Are they fully aware of what's going on? That's my issue with this. Like, is it consistent with their motivation? Well, maybe it is to a degree, but what do they know about this whole scene? We don't know enough information about how Pathways works. We don't know what Grisha and Kruger and the rest of them know about what's going on. Also, Ymir's in the background there as well. I don't know what you guys think, because it confuses the hell out of me, and it annoys me, because I feel like if they do know what's going on, we would have had a little bit more from them perhaps. But if they don't know what's going on and they're being used and manipulated, it's kind of counterintuitive to what Armin stands for, and it also kind of complements Eren's plan a little bit too. Are they fighting fire with fire? Ymir using minus titans from the past 1,000 years, and Armin using recent shifters from Zeke's memory. Like, I don't know how you'd put this into perspective with consistency. I mean, and their motivations.
This came up last chapter in a way. We were talking about Annie and how seamlessly Annie is reintegrated in the cast. And my friend Marie made the joke that apparently there was Wi-Fi in the crystal because she came out completely caught up to speed on everything that's been happening. And maybe it's more believable for Annie to have that because Armin and Hitch were apparently reading the newspaper to her and telling her what was going on, and she was apparently aware. But yeah, I think the idea that Grisha, Kruger, they all got caught up instantly, especially Kruger, who only knew Zeke at most briefly as a child, that he would suddenly be caught up in what's happening and be able to make a clear determination. Yeah. It's a hole in the story.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I don't like it, but that's an interesting point. Yeah. This is why I get so frustrated with this manga. Just the consistency is just all over the place for me. Like, and now that you've mentioned that, that's going to bother me even more now as well.
Do you feel part of this is Isayama trying to we got a comment on our YouTube video last month about Erwin would not support the rumbling. Isayama said it 3 different ways. People still don't accept it because they don't think it fits Erwin's character. And now we have Kruger trying to stop the every character that people have latched onto as being those who would side with Eren's ideology are one by one being picked off and forced into the role of being.
Once again, Isayama doesn't understand the characters. I know that they are
Isayama
fascist.
caved to fan pressure. He's making it for the masses now.
I think the thing with Erwin is that is because that's such a difficult thing to answer because we know what Erwin's capable of doing and what he is willing to sacrifice for what he deems is the greater good, which he's always admitted he's selfish. I mean, Momtaku, you can probably refute me because Erwin better than anybody. No. But as far as I'm aware, obviously Erwin, up until of course the end when he decided to let his personal dreams go, he was always fighting arguably for himself first to get to the basement to prove his father correct over that of humanity, which he himself kind of admits, does he not? He is fighting for humanity, but that personal goal.
Oh no, you're absolutely correct on that, Andrew. That's also why I stopped liking Erwin. So.
I don't like you anymore. How dare you? No, I understand that completely.
Yeah, you selfish cunt. All these people are dying and you just want to get to the basement? What?
So I think that's important to look at when asking, would Erwin actually use the rumbling? Because again, generally speaking, he's got to the basement, his character arc's finished. So I know that's the point. It wouldn't matter because it wouldn't happen. But if it did happen, can you even answer that? Because there's no content that would make it kind of answerable. Because Erwin's point was the basement, right? That was his. There's nothing after that for Erwin. You'd have to just make up your entire. It's basically, what do I think of Erwin? Do I like him? Do I not? There's nothing to work with Erwin and the rumbling. I don't think. Even as a theory, it's very surface level because Erwin's mentality could have shifted completely after finding the basement had he lived. His entire purpose might have, he might have gone into depression. He might have reflected upon what had happened to get to the basement. We don't know what would have happened to him as a person mentally had he survived.
You think he would have
over
pulled an
Armin.
Eren and gone genocidal maniac?
I doubt it. But would he have supported it? Probably not. No, I agree. I don't think he would have supported the rumbling, but I just don't think there's any point. It's just such a open-ended question.
Right.
Yeah.
But now we're having that question now with Kruger. People are doing the same thing with Kruger. They've latched. We asked in the, I don't know, maybe, I don't remember which poll, which characters do you think would side with Eren? And we listed a whole bunch of characters. And I think 60% of the fandom, the highest was Kruger, thought that would side with Eren if he were alive in that day and making decisions. And the other one that was super high was Kenny Ackerman.
Yes.
So characters like Kenny and Kruger and, so to have Kruger, when you've got 60, 70% of the fandom thinking that Kruger would side with Eren here, to have him actively fighting Eren now is kind of a smack in the face for those people. I personally, being who I am, know for a fact Kenny would never support the rumbling because Yuri was Kenny's guy and Kenny ultimately would go with Yuri. That's kind of a slap in the face to everything Yuri stood for. And that's who Kenny cared about. Whereas Kruger, I didn't really have any opinion what he would do. I think it would take a lot for anybody to support a full-scale genocide of the entire world except for one island. So my tendency is to think nobody. But yeah, I feel bad for people that thought Kruger did because they've lost yet another card in their hand. Go ahead, _.
Can you just ask, where does the thought that Kenny would support the rumbling come from?
I don't know. People who just view him as selfish, I guess.
I just said yes, but ignore that. You're right. I don't know why. Yeah, 100%. Because Yuri, 100%. Yeah, he would have stuck by Yuri to the end.
I mean, he wants to be a sympathetic person. He wants to be like Yuri, and
I know. But what you said before, I know the character better than Isayama.
Oh, of course. We already pre-established this.
No, I mean, this thing about Kenny supporting the rumbling, to me, that's one of those that I could go on a 40-minute rant about if we needed to, because it's against everything Kenny and Yuri were striving for. But with Kruger, I do think there's more gray area. Like, if we're talking about somebody who was capable of doing awful things, Kruger had a whole life of doing awful things. The number of people that would be Jaegerists is just dropping like everybody. The only one people are left with hoping for is Historia.
Oh, Lord.
That belief that she is supporting Eren. Because otherwise,
wasn't that
they're dropping
already
like
debunked?
flies.
But refuse to be believed.
Oh, it's a lack of Finnish conversations between.
Get ready next month, Momtaku. Eren
I know.
and Historia had a baby, and she likes genocide. Like, oh no. You can rub it in X/'s face as well when it doesn't happen.
I can't wait. I will say this, though, like, as much as like the histrionics, this chapter that I saw on your server and also on Titanfolk with people like burning their manga volumes because of this chapter, I would be very tempted to do that. If X/ is right and Historia had the baby and supported whatever, I would that you will see histrionics. So I will put Titanfolk to shame with my level of
you have
histrionics.
To. For the last 2 months, you have to just go all out, just for the memories and the banter and it finishing. But on Kruger, like I said, I honestly, underscore, I think you nailed it at the very start of this conversation when you mentioned, of course, Kruger was actually fighting to save Eldians across the world. So again, what kind of viewpoint are we looking at it for Kruger? Because I know, Momtaku, you mentioned that people said if Kruger was on Paradis during that time, does that mean he was growing up on Paradis? Or does it mean, it's like, that's what I mean, like how are we phrasing that point? But I think what underscore said is correct. Like if Kruger saw this based upon him, which is what's happening in the manga, if he saw this and saw Eldians across the world being killed, who he himself wanted to save alongside those on Paradis, would he have been supporting Eren? I don't think he would. I mean, I think he would support the death of Malians and the control of the world in some sense, but the absolute destruction of the world?
He wanted...
Probably not.
Yeah, you're right that he wanted Eldians to be free. The thing is, maybe looking at the current state of the world, he realized that only the Paradisian Eldians could be free, and he would take that as opposed to like none of them being free.
Fuck, he might actually.
That makes no sense.
I don't know. Like, I think it would fit with someone like Kruger. Like, I think like people like Flock and stuff, I'd see them as quite realistic in the sense that they act and they do what they think. That they have an opinion, they have a thought, and they'll follow it to the bitter end. And I think if Kruger sees the option being all Eldian or some Eldians alive, or the other option, which of course there isn't one really, is there? Not what we see. Peace isn't an option. We know this firsthand. So what else is there for him to support to save the most people of Eldians? Either the rumbling or just let the world invade Paradis, I guess. That wouldn't fit his plan. What would be the alternative for Kruger based upon what he wants to do?
And I keep thinking back to like the future memory he had of "Don't you want to save Armin and Mikasa?" Have we had that?
We haven't really had it fully explained, but I think people say it relates to the moment where Grisha gives Eren the Titan power, and he's like, "You have to save Eren and Mikasa, Armin and Mikasa," right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way that I can reconcile it at this point, is that Eren sent that memory back to force Grisha's hand, to force Grisha to act at that moment. So it wasn't it wasn't necessarily an honest thing. It was manipulative. You have to do this if you want to save Armin and Mikasa. That it was more manipulative on Eren's part than an earnest desire to protect them, which I don't know how I feel about that either, but that seems to be the prevailing wisdom.
Yeah.
But I mean, we also have a fandom that thinks that Eren ultimately killed his mom, that he sent Dinah to kill her to motivate young Eren. So things are looking really bad for Eren right now.
Hang on a minute. Wait, who says that? That's oh god, I'm so stressed out.
I'll catch you up, Andrew. So the memory shards. You know the memory shards.
Yes.
Like, okay. Eren, you know this, right? Eren, one of the memory shards is Bertold looking at Dinah and Dinah getting into the walls. So the idea is that for Eren to have Bert and Dinah's memory is an indication that he was involved in that moment. So ultimately, it's that
Fair
he
enough.
made the choice to kill his mother because it would motivate young him, because this is the point he wanted to reach. So Eren's been the architect of everything that happened in his life to get to this point.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I don't know. I feel a little bit scared about that, generally.
Andrew, just think about the time loop theories right now.
Yeah, I am. I'm like, I hate that idea. Please don't. I swear to God, if we get an ending with time loop, at this point, it wouldn't surprise me. It's all a repeating cycle, you know.
And they have to, and Armin has to break the cycle.
Stop.
Well, we talked about this, I think, 2 podcasts ago, that Muv-Luv being Isayama's inspiration, and it is a redo after redo.
Okay, can I mention another Final Fantasy reference?
Of course.
So in Final Fantasy XIII, the whole plot is also based on Norse mythology. So, and there are 3 games, and in the second game, the world kind of gets destroyed, but not really. Like, time stops flowing, people don't die anymore. Does that sound familiar, kind of? Like paths. And then in the third game, the entire world actually gets destroyed, but also gets reborn. So they kind of go from like their Final Fantasy world to being reborn in the real world. So you see the main character in a trade in France. So what I think is like the Ragnarok thing could be like, okay, the world gets destroyed, but then they end up in like the high school universe. I don't know.
No.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Stop.
I mean, we have the memory shard of the high school universe, so what's it doing there?
Yep, it's coming.
If that happens, like, I will laugh and cry, and I'll be just like,
It would be the biggest fuck you from Isayama. I love that, and I hate that. No.
For the next 2 months, I'm not going to be able to sleep at night now. Thanks, Lena. Until we know.
You're welcome.
The appearance of the high school AU in that memory shard, you can say he did it as a meme or a joke, but what if he didn't? What if he didn't?
Oh, it's just a reference, man. You know, it's just a reference, girls. Come on, like.
But you have to understand, Eren in that universe, he dreams of Attack on Titan all the time.
He does.
It ends with him, and so he opens his eyes. It's gonna just be like that. That's gonna be the ending.
And they'll all be wearing the clothes. Eren will be going to school. Do you guys remember that? There was a bonus page at the end of one of the volumes. Eren waking up to go to school. Yeah. That's actually the final panel.
And life is so boring. I wish something could happen.
If that was the ending. If that was actually the ending, and like the manga ends, and like, you know, and like, you know, the actual ending is like generally waking up in a high school slice of life. I mean, Isayama did mention that he wanted to make a high school story next, didn't he? Probably not Attack on Titan, obviously, but it'll be something else. But
that is the Muv-Luv ending. That is the Muv-Luv. The Muv-Luv is a high school AU that turns into all of this crazy worlds and do-overs. But like
Muv-Luv is like it gets progressively worse, right? With each do-over, like they try to make things better, but they end up making things worse.
Right. Whereas this would be the reverse. It would be better.
But I feel like that kind of defeats the message a bit. Like life is cruel yet beautiful. Like to end up in high school,
which is always cruel. Yeah, high school's always cruel. That'd be a terrible ending.
I just think that many of the fan base, I mean, I get where this is coming from, and I do understand if it did happen to some degree, although I'd hate it. But I mean, would Isayama even care about the reception at the end of the day? Would he even be bothered about if people didn't like it? So that's like, maybe that's a good thing in many aspects of his writing, that he doesn't care what the fan base thinks. So I can't sit there and say, well, it matters now, so I'll keep my mouth shut and wait and see.
Well, let's move on now and talk a little bit about Armin. I know we've touched on him before, but it was one of my favorite parts of the chapter where he kind of talked about his personal memories that made life worth living. And I'd like to get your reaction on that.
I mean, I think it fits within the themes, the manga in a sense, and within the Armin's character. And it also, gives a little tie into Zeke's nihilism in that sense, through showing how he's happy being born because of the moments he has spent with, for example, Ksaver. It wasn't all just a worthless existence. So that's why I think I enjoy that moment a lot, mostly because of it ties into Zeke, not really through Armin that much.
I really liked what you said, Luna, about how we've kind of had the idea that the theme was going to be babies are the future.
Oh, right.
And
yeah,
you brought out that that's, the theme is that life is worth living for a variety of reasons, not just children. I really liked that. And I had not heard anyone express that yet.
I mean, children is a moment, just like what a small, as more like a bigger moment than, for example, walking the marketplace with your friends. It's a moment just like any other that makes, together with all the other moments of life, makes it worth living. So I'd say it ties into the greater thematic purpose, because if you're going to look at it from this perspective 137, it seems that the greater thematic perspective of Attack on Titan will be the meaning to live on, or the meaning to live. For example, Eren having his friends being the meaning for him to fight and live on, and Zeke being an opposite of that, showing he doesn't have much meaning in living except stopping others from living in that sense.
I really like that, the complaints about Godman and that Armin, but there was nothing special here. This was not a talk ninjutsu. There was no 200 IQ plan. It was just Armin being Armin, just Armin being who he is. That made Zeke think, and I liked that. I liked it a lot.
For me, going into Armin here, I agree completely with that point, Momtaku. Obviously, Armin again is he always has been. He's been a young lad. He's very vulnerable. He's always, been the weakest of the bunch. At the start, he says, which I like this message. He says at the start, it says Eren, but it's Eren. I don't know why that was mistranslated. But Eren brought up the idea and took off out of nowhere. Mikasa ran too, but stayed behind him on purpose. Then Armin says, and of course, I was dead last. It's always been that thing in the manga as well, where Eren's taken off. Mikasa and Armin have always tried to chase after him, but always fail, in a sense. And I like the fact that, of course, that kind of correlates quite nicely, again, in Armin's speech here with what happened at the start, to how, again, that kind of is the entire thing in the manga, right? They're always behind Eren at some point. He's always running off, doing something at somewhere, and they're left behind. But it does, like you said, Armin talks about reading a book, feeding a squirrel, such simple little things. And it's Armin's personality. He's such a nice little... I don't want to say nice little boy, because that'll come off really wrong. But he's a bit of a sweetie. He's a little kid that sits at the back of the class, or he's the quiet one in the corner. But everything that he's been through has kind of grown him quite a lot. But I think with Bertolt's memories, given who Bertolt was as a person, it's kind of made him look back on that a lot, which people kind of ignore. Because in Shiganshina, we get kind of more of a ruthless Armin, I guess. He's kind of taking on some of Erwin's traits, and Erwin's, he looks at Erwin and sees what Erwin does, and Erwin kind of acknowledges that himself in Shiganshina by giving him a squad, right? But then when he gets Bertolt's memories, he kind of doesn't regress, but he kind of starts to see it from Bertolt's point of view, who was also very quiet and timid in his own way before he kind of had his, wake-up call in Shiganshina. And I think Armin looks upon that quite well in the following arcs, in the Marley arc, the Waffle Paradise arc. And I like it, because a lot of people say he doesn't develop, but I think Armin kind of takes a step back in the later arcs, because he's looking, he's listening, he's paying attention to everything around him. And I think that's kind of charming to me, and people kind of look at it as Armin doing nothing. But I think Armin is doing something, and I think he's just not being responsive in the way that people want to see from a main character. But that's ignoring Armin as a person, because Armin is the quiet one at the back. He's not He's not the most vocal. He's not the most aggressive or in action all the time. And I think it's fitting in a way, even if again it is disappointing with little context. But this chapter here kind of solidifies the fact that Armin is still who he was, and he's still got a lot to say. And it ends up changing Zeke. So good on you, Armin, I say. That was a bit of a waffle. Sorry, did I say that? Saving Zeke? I mean, they saved each other. There you go.
They did. They saved each other. That's a good way to look at it.
I mean, I am happy with it. A lot of people expected Armin to just save the day with epic big brain plan, but it wasn't really what he did. So I'm content. But
yeah, the big Totnadutsu, I'm glad it wasn't that way. And I think that, but let's not talk about that final panel, where he's being held.
No, let's not talk about that.
Ignoring that part, I think this actual start was fantastic, yeah. It worked for both Zeke and Armin's character. And it felt very humble, I think, as well for both of them. And I think for me, it was just humble to read it.
I think Isayama, sometimes the big reveals end up being super understated, and that it's a little jarring at first, but then on reflection, it works. And I think this is another one where the moment just felt very small, but that works. I just wanted to mention there was a meta on Tumblr I really enjoyed by A Spoon of Sugar called Running Up That Hill, which we'll link to. And she talked about how that race moment was just like perfectly summed up the dynamic of EMA. And it reminded me of something that Underscore and Andrew, that you guys were talking about, how well Isayama knows these characters and how when we get these little moments, they're just perfectly fitting for who they are as people. And the fact that the kids were just walking and Eren's the one who turned it into a race. He took off, leaving them behind. You mentioned that. And, Mikasa staying behind him and Armin just enjoying nature and the breeze and being with his friends. And it's moments like that that are just really special in the manga when he demonstrates that he does know who these characters are and when it fits their characters perfectly. I really like that meta, so I'm going to link that one down below.
Yeah, I mean, on the comment of Isayama knowing his characters, yeah, and like I just can't, 100%. Like scenes like this does show that he understands his characters really well, and it's so frustrating, obviously at times, I guess in recent times, that we get such amazing quality like this. And again, perhaps I'm being unfair, and I probably am, and it's not your story, it's Isayama's. Stop complaining and whining. I hate people who do that. But I'll probably read what they've written actually, because it sounds interesting as well.
It reminded me of an older moment in the anime and in the manga when they were trying to identify who Historia was, when Hanji goes to the trio and says, "Who is this person?" And each of them gives it a definition of who she is that makes no sense to Hanji. Like Eren says she's the smallest soldier because Eren cares about the battle. And Mikasa says, she's the girl always with Ymir because she focuses on the relationship. And Armin says she has blonde hair. Armin gives like a useful explanation of who this person is that might actually help Hanji identify her. So this flashback moment of the three of them kind of was the same for me. It was one of those that just really helped highlight who they were and what their dynamic is. So I thought that was special.
I mean, I agree with the meta, like that Eren has a misconstrued understanding of what freedom means. So, yeah, and Armin is just Armin. I don't have any strong feelings about Armin, so I'm kind of left with nothing to say. I'm sorry. So, yeah.
I mean, he's just a simple character. You can't really go on and on about him. But that's just what works about him, I say. Because the simplicity is what makes him fun.
Yeah. So he is simple, and he did a simple thing here. No talk, no jutsu.
Honestly, I think Armin's quite complex, but I'm not going to start. I think he is in his own. It's not complex, but I think there's a lot
in
to
his
him.
own way. But the things
he's Isayama's Gary Stu self-insert, guys.
No, that's Gabi. No, that's Eren. No, wait. No, fuck.
Something else that happened in this chapter was that we got some really shocking revelations about OG Ymir, about the world building, that paths, and I'm not sure that I understand this. I don't know if you guys do, but paths were created as a result of Ymir's desire for safety and connection. I don't know that rules out her being a slave there, or, I don't know that it changes everything, but, definitely some world building. And we got an ask from Monica So, who said, "I feel like Isayama mixed biology with some sort of magical powers, because how can a parasite unite people in a parallel dimension? I'm so confused." And also a welcome back to Luna. So this revelation about just the whole setup of paths, like, is it the centipede that did it? Is it Ymir's desire? I didn't get a lot of answers there. I don't know. I'll just toss it out there for you guys to talk about. Underscore, what about you?
What can you say except Tyson magic? It's just like it's just magic. That's the main meta explanation for, I'd say, why paths can exist in the first place. But why it exists in the way it does is maybe it's formed through Ymir's mental state. Because maybe if the parasite attached to someone else, paths would have been looking much different. For example, the only thing in paths is the tree. The only thing she values is the connection to others, I'd say.
But I mean, like the appearance of the leaf and the baseball, is that something that I mean, again, you're right. It's magic. We don't need to meta this.
No. Okay. Because the way I see it is that because paths exist as her interpretation of life, the connection to others. And maybe when you're in paths long enough, it will change according to you. So something that's connected to you shows up in paths, connected to you and your thoughts. Potentially, like the leaf and the baseball showing up, because it's not the same for everyone else.
I wonder if that factors into that vision of Eren in the clouds when he saw the scenery and he hollers at Eren. Maybe that's the same demonstration of that power.
Like I say the same, because it's in the same scene when he's in the paths and he looks back to Armin. It's not like a transition. It's just shown to be in the same scene.
So that's the first instance of something appearing in paths because the person wants to see it, or, yeah.
I'd say so, at least.
Because when Ymir got her powers for the first time, she fell into this sort of realm that wasn't paths, right?
Oh, the wind underneath the tree in the water? I don't know if it's like an actual realm.
Yeah.
And, it's just like...
Well, if we saw the flashback to the Hallucigenia, there were multiple of them. So maybe there's other trees with parasite water.
The way I see it is, it's like it clearly has some realm warping capabilities here. So I don't know what kind of conclusion you can draw from it, other than just say it's.
Well, let's just say that the same parasite that gave her the powers also somehow led to the creation of paths.
Well, yeah, you cannot maybe say that empty void is the because the parasite has no personality connection, something like that.
Yeah, it's not a sentient entity at this point, right?
Exactly like that. It has no, like in the same way a human is.
It's just trying to stay alive. I mean, the idea that I get it, and I think we talked about this last month, was that a parasite doesn't have a consciousness. It wants to reproduce. It wants to stay alive. It wants to use its host to do that. So it feels like in this case, the centipede is the battery that gave Ymir the ability to create the world that she wanted and keep her alive. It gave her the ability. It's not driving the ability.
No, and then in return, it's kind of feeding off her in some way, if it's a parasite.
My question is, at the start, obviously we have the parasites in the ocean at the start. 50 million years ago, millions of years ago. So, like, were they parasites then? Were they creatures then? Were they life forms? Did they attach to other creatures? Yeah. So one of them survived and became a parasite and lived in the tree. This is what I mean. Like, I know, like, it's just such a linking it together is quite problematic. Yeah.
Yes, it lived in Yggdrasil, and then it found Ymir, and then giants.
I think like Underscore said, like, it's, I guess, putting the boxes together isn't exactly going to be easy, and maybe putting a meta isn't going to be useful anyway. But
I don't think we'll get more explanation in this anyway. Probably, unless there's more to the parasite, but. That would feel like a cop-out indeed. That would be like the real enemy is the worm.
The real enemy is the worms we made along the way.
So you clearly have not read the theories that there are two worms. And that...
I have.
I've not read these, no.
No, I haven't read those, but good.
What's the theory?
Go ahead, explain them. So Ymir has one and Eren has one? Is that the theory at this point?
I think the one, if you're talking about the thing Gigaslav said, it's
yes.
It's that the Titan also has a worm, and it's like a major minor worm thing, and
what?
Yeah, it's a little cray, but it's something. It feels like Cope Ultra Maximum, but
didn't that theory get a lot of upvotes on Titanfolk, or am I imagining that?
No, it did. They did get a lot of traction on Titanfolk.
Yes.
It sounds overcomplicated for the sake of overcomplication to me.
So there's a mini worm parasite thingy in the shifter,
yes.
and there's a mega worm in the Titan, and that's why if you kill the worm in the Titan disappears, but then the mini worm can regenerate.
Apparently,
the big Titan
Reiner
again?
is wrestling one of the worms, but not the
Or
other
something.
worm. We will add the meta. We will add it to the description for people who would like to read it.
Okay. I maybe if I read it, it will make more sense. But yeah,
Let's call it two worm theory. The two worm theory.
I love that we're calling it either a worm or a hallucigenia. It's like,
But yeah, we had a kind of a long chat in the Discord last night about the world building issues, and I think the final decision that everyone came to, or whether we like it or not, is that we just have to nod our head and go with it. Like, it is a combination of biology and magic, like Monica so said. And, under a microscope, it's going to fall apart. It makes no sense. None of it makes any sense. You cannot the science side of Tumblr cannot fix this, or the science side of Twitter, or wherever the science side of things exists. It is what it is. This is the world. Do you guys think that Ymir now sides with the Alliance, or how do you read that?
Yes, I think Ymir sides with the Alliance because she realizes though they are protecting their friends, so she sees her longing for friendship in them, and she sides with them. I'd say. I think that's what they're trying to show. At least she has switched sides.
I don't care. To be honest, sorry, it's just no, man,
oh, I could hear some heavy breathing. I'm like, what's going on in Andrew's mind right now?
I've got no answer for that question, really.
Can't wait for the ship section where Andrew has to talk about his favorite ships.
Oh.
What about you, Luna? Do you think she switched sides?
Honestly, I have no idea, and it looks like the fandom doesn't either, because if I look at the poll, which asks the same question, if she's siding with the Alliance right now, I think 50% is like, everything is so confusing. We need more information to know, and that's where I stand, because I feel like if it really is a sort of connection she longs for, she could go with anyone who kind of shows her that, like a connection between others or towards her. So if Eren pops up again and says, "Oh, Ymir, I will keep you safe" or something, let's be friends, maybe she will work in Eren's favor now. I have no idea.
It is confusing because she created, apparently, according to Armin, if Armin is to be believed, she created the Titans of old to fight the Alliance, and then Armin and Zeke made the modern Titans to fight back, and they're all still fighting. So it's like whichever side she's on, she's got horses in both races or something. But yeah, I hope we get, this is the one area that I hope we get a little bit more on, just what Ymir's thinking, because it's confusing. You shouldn't have 70% of a fandom confused about something unless you're going to clear it up. And I think looking at the results of that poll option, that's the one that people are confused about. Just what is Ymir doing?
I still think it's interesting that 35% say that she isn't on anyone's side. She's just letting the situation play out. I'm like, okay. She does seem actively involved with it somehow.
And yet she's always a bystander. The only time we've seen her not be a bystander is a few chapters ago when the 104th were running to Eren. She appeared and knocked them back. So in that case, we've definitely seen her protective of Eren. And now she's observing. So maybe we'll get more on that.
Who knows? I'm not holding my breath for anything anymore at this point. Like, we're so far in.
I do care about Ymir, by the way, just to point out. Like, I do like her. I do want the best for her, but I'm at the point now with the story, like you said, Lyndon, like, I just, whatever happens, right? But hopefully it ends in a good way.
Yeah.
Who thinks she's going to be resurrected as Historia's baby?
Do you know what? I'll go with it. We'll make a bet now, yeah? We'll make a bet now. I'll go with that. It'll be, the baby will be named Ymir or something. All right, I'll take a bet.
But she will be named Ymir.
It will be this Ymir, reincarnated.
But she will be called Ymir because Historia likes the real Ymir that she knows.
Exactly.
So it's double meaning.
Go big or go home, Andrew. What's your take on this? You've already, you went on Twitter and you cast your lot in with a certain community.
Oh Lord, I never thought the community would be that into it. Like, it's mental. People are crazy. Honestly. So do I think the baby's going to be actually Ymir? Honestly,
reincarnated
no,
Ymir.
of course, no. I don't know. No, I think it'll be called Ymir maybe, because as Underscore said, I think he was being sarcastic. I actually take it seriously. But yeah, maybe the baby will be called Ymir.
Seriously. I was halfway seriously on that point.
I think it'll be called Ymir, but I think it'll be someone else. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if the hill world gets destroyed and we get a new world in return, and it's not like rising from the ashes like we're going to build again, but like completely new, who says that all the Eldians who went to paths cannot be reborn at some point?
I'm counting on it.
You can have Erwin back, Mom.
He's going to come back and say, he's going to come back and say, I don't support a rumbling. And then leave again.
That's all that's left. That's all that's left with his character.
Do you not think, though? I mean, I know we discussed that already with the ending of the high school, but do you not think it would be so disappointing if at the end that is actually the ending? Like everyone just gets transported to. It's just like, well, what was the point of this entire story? Was it just? I mean, that's wrong because it was a great journey, but you know.
I mean, I really hope that my joke isn't coming to be
Isayama's watching
a real thing.
Now that you've heard it, what percentage, like, do you think there's a 20% chance of that happening or a 2%? Where do you, now that you've heard it, now that you can't unsee it, where are you, Andrew?
I don't want it to happen at all, so 0% on that front. But now that you've mentioned it, now that you've mentioned it, I can probably see it happening, knowing Isayama. I'd probably give it. I'd probably give it.
Oh no!
I don't want to say 25. I'll give it 15% chance of happening. I can't believe I said that.
15 is a very big number, Andrew. 15 is a very big number.
I know. High school ending. I don't know, because Isayama's just mental. I can just imagine it happening. Just.
All right. What about the other? You guys have to answer that question too.
0.1%. Please, Isayama, please don't do this. I'm begging you.
It's not if you want it. It's not if you want it. It's do you think there's a chance?
Isayama is such a fucking troll. He could do whatever. He can just. He could do some crazy shit with the ending, just rewrite the entire story and make it all pointless. He wouldn't do it, but he could. I can see him doing that, and that hurts me in many ways. But still makes me excited.
I think that would probably be the ending, no matter which side of the fandom you are with, the Alliance or the Jaegerists or wherever. That ending would...
Yeah, it would hurt everyone.
Everyone would hate it.
All right.
Isayama really succeeded with that statement,
So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that there will be the last part of the Highschool AU in the same volume that concludes this manga. If he continues it, in the Highschool AU portion, he's going to leave it open that that's the case. He may not end our manga with that, but in that Highschool AU, I guarantee you it's going to be, we're going to read that and we're going to think, oh crap, it's going to connect the two worlds.
Yeah,
yes.
He
something
100% do a joke about that. I can see that happening for sure.
So people who want to believe in a reincarnation in a reboot, that Muv-Luv ending, that Highschool AU is going to go that way, and it will be possible.
That seems more likely. Yeah.
He gets the best of both worlds that way.
He just wants to go to his sauna.
All right. Well, before we go on break, I have a personal question for each of you. If you were in paths, what would Armin's leaf look like to you?
Oh, wow. That's a question.
Yeah.
I have to think about that one, actually. I mean, it's the little things, right? It's the little things.
Do you have an answer for that question, Momtaku?
I don't. That's why I'm asking you.
Well, as a small object, like a baseball or a leaf, I would say potentially you could say my computer mouse, because I have a lot of connections to other people through my computer. So
that would remind you of the people in the outside world.
Yes, I'd say so.
It's a good answer.
Probably something food related, because when you eat food, but you can share the food, and my best memories are when eating good food with my friends or something like that.
I was going to say something daft like my Zeke body pillow, but I don't have one, so I can't really use that.
Andrew, when is your birthday, Andrew?
Well, May time.
Is that absolute happiness for you, Andrew, when you were stroking your body pillow?
Yeah, I just sat there like cuddling it and caressing it and quick little kiss before I'm getting far too into this. I'll stop.
Yes, please.
No, I have a teddy bear that I had since the day I was born. I still have it now. It's across my room for me. Just again, it doesn't signify much, but it's been with me since the day I was born. So it's kind of like a companion of mine, I suppose you could say. So I'd probably have that just because it kind of solidifies me as a person and my life as long as it has been going on for. So yeah.
We asked that question in the poll, and it's like a lot of them are joke answers, obviously, but some of them are more serious. And one I saw repeated a few times was people saying a pencil, my dog's collar, my friend's doodle, my stuffed animal, my cat, somebody else. That's personal. What the fuck? A harmonica.
Yeah, Momtaku. What the fuck?
I know. But it's like, as I read through the list of things that people have put in that, it does make me wonder, like, there's a story behind it. For the ones that were serious anyway, there's a story behind what it is. So
I think it's a good question to ask, yeah.
So now that you've heard our answers, do you have an idea what could be your leaf or baseball?
No. I can't boil life down to an object.
It's your Tumblr.
No, heck no.
Well, it's not just one moment, right? Even for Armin, it was just more like a significant moment.
Well, I like what you said, like for a meal that just connects people, to have something food related, or I would think in my life it would be something food related as well, just because all of the best moments, or car trips, because that's when the best conversation happens, and sitting around a dinner table. So it would be something connected to one of those things, just those times when you're disconnected from the world and you're just really focused on another person. And I don't know what symbol would be.
I have to ask, just in case anyone did write something serious, did you get any responses that were kind of like a wedding ring, or like the ashes of like somebody or anything? Sorry to get quite kind of serious and grim on that. I'm just curious because I would have thought that somebody in that poll must have said like a wedding ring or for like forever ring or something like that. I don't know what the audience on Tumblr age like is, but...
Well, these are mostly Reddit and Twitter. The one said a necklace from an ex, and I would like to know the story behind that one.
Ooh. This is going to turn into a very gossipy discussion. Like, they're married now and they have kids, but they are always longing for, the one that got away.
I wonder. Or maybe they learned something from a bad relationship that changed their life. I don't know.
Could be.
The fact it's from an ex is the interesting thing, and they hold it. Yeah,
exactly. Here's one that's kind of cute. A shot of gold tequila with cinnamon sugar and an orange slice. Best night of my life.
That's great.
See, that sounds like a good story, to be honest. One that I would like to partake in, but...
All right. Well, we'll take a break, and while we're on break, you all can be thinking about what your leaf would look like in paths. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. Now we're going to talk about the actual battle taking place. Surprise, surprise. Because we have the modern shifters appear and enter the battle with a little help from Zeke and Armin. Let's start with my second favorite part. That's Jean and Peak finally together. And Peaks getting saved by Jean, and it's the rise of Fingerstein. I mean, what else is left to say about that?
Do you know about this, Andrew? The rise of Fingerstein?
I don't know. I've no idea what this means now.
Okay, so Peak Finger and Jean.
Horse and Cart, the new ship.
You need a horse to have a cart, you know.
Wait, Andrew didn't know about horse and cart?
No, I didn't.
That is great. Oh my lord. Oh, that's great. Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, this is exactly the reaction I was hoping for.
my
Keep
God.
going, please.
So basically, like, because obviously he's got a horse, she's a cart. Oh, yeah, I get it. Right, all right.
Yeah.
And the
you
ship
know,
name is
ship-
Fingerstein.
because he's holding on to her like they're so close, and it's
Oh, well, hang on, let me look at the. Oh yeah, because he's got his arm. Oh, he's got his arm around it.
exactly.
No, it's not. Oh yeah, okay, I ship it. Yeah, okay, yeah, let's do it. I'm down for that. That's great.
I mean, people who try to kill each other make the best couple, of course.
2 months ago, he blew her up to pieces. You know, great relationship go great ways.
He did try to kill her, but apparently, hang on, Andrew. I'm going to drop a picture in the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's Fingerstein.
Oh, that last one. Oh, Jesus. Oh, this is something. Oh, this is great. Something awesome's come out of this chapter. I'm so happy. This is great. Oh man, the fact of fucking hands missing as well. Like just finger. Oh, just even that just got me. I don't. Look at them together though. Like the look. Oh, it's. Oh yeah. Okay. I'll yeah. If Jean and Pierre end up having a happy ending with each other, I'll take that because I'll take that.
and he likes girls with long black hair. Like, come on.
And John wants to start a family.
Maybe he's so peak.
You know.
in 127. No, it's peak. It's not Picasso. It's peak.
Peak with an extra scar.
Underscore, you can speak to this in the Discord where the chapter was universally hated. Fingerstein was loved, yeah?
Yes, indeed it was. It was actually proclaimed as the greatest moments of chapter 137.
Oh, people on the server said that?
By multiple people, including Mike.
Oh, nice.
Mike said that multiple times.
I know when I posted the link to the server in the Discord, the very first reaction I got from anybody in the Discord was, why was Fingerstein not put as favorite moment? Because it was literally the only good moment in the chapter, according to them.
That's made my day, by the way. That's actually made me so happy. Like I'm just sat here giggling. I'm sat here secretly giggling to myself still. Like the fact I didn't know about it as well. Like
So, Andrew, according to the poll, 25% of people did not know about Fingerstein. So you're not alone, but you're definitely in the minority. Yes, 25%. The rest, we've got 60% who love it and 16% who despise it. So.
Really?
People lack taste.
Dang. Now that we've all recovered from the glory that is Fingerstein, what did you think about Gabby being able to actually hit the Okapi while on a flying bird? Like, she's a good shot, but that seemed a little bit...
I mean, it doesn't faze me anymore. It's just like, I've accepted it.
Okay.
I don't like it.
I think it was cute, though, seeing her together with Levi. Like, he's a babysitter now. That's all he's good for.
That's what surprised... And maybe it shouldn't have surprised me, but there was an explosion of, like... Remember all the Eren, Ymir art, father-daughter art? I saw this with Levi and Gabby. Yeah. Like, now Levi's got... This was the reasoning I saw. You know, Levi has fulfilled his promise. He's done. He needs a new purpose to live. And now he's going to be like Reiner, and that the children are the future. You know, Gabby, basically Papa Levi adopting the kids. So I don't know. I don't know that I take that much from this moment, but it was cute.
I got more of an uncle vibe from the fandom.
He's got his arm around her, though. Yeah. I think that's what really touched people so much.
Uncle Levi. What more do you want to?
Last month, I sat in I think it was a discussion actually. I think we mentioned it on the discussion with where you were with them on Taku. I said, I said, I word it for word. I swear to God, if Gabby ends up shooting something on the back of that bird next month, I'm going to scream. So I've not screamed yet. So no, I won't. Don't worry. No, I don't. Like underscore, like whatever, whatever, man. Like I don't like it. I think it's just whatever. Cool. All right, whatever. Next, it's just like
Where did she even get
Does that
that
make
gun?
sense?
That's what I'm wondering.
Did you hate it as much as you thought you would hate it?
No, because I think, again, coming into this now, not with mild expectations, but I kind of am like, and I think before I'm in it for the fun, just for the end, I don't think I hate it as much as I would have done had I been as involved with the manga as I was a couple of years ago. But whatever, it's not like it's something that cannot be explained, I suppose. So I can't like say it's, it's illogical, but I don't know. I just think it's just convenient as hell, and it's just taking advantage, not taking advantage, but I just think, it's taking liberty a little bit here with how absurd it actually is. Just how is Gabby such a good shooter? I mean, yeah, she's a child warrior, but she's 12-year-old, for God's sake. Like, come on. I mean, I know that it's Attack on Titan is Titans and stuff, but didn't Isayama comment and quote in an interview at some point that he likes to go for realism as much as he tries to? Come on, what is this? Like, no, I mean, I don't know anything about rifles and things or anything else, but the kickback with the rifle when she shot Eren on the head, I get it. Levi's holding her. She can't fall off, but even then, shouldn't her shoulder dislocate with the force of it hitting the back? I'm getting into technicalities here, which I probably shouldn't do, but if Isayama wants realism, which he claims to want, and he's doing this, and I
think that's gone out the window. He's just trying to make it look cool at this point, I guess.
I mean, even then, Attack on Titan is fundamentally broken as a realistic series because ODMK doesn't work in the first place. So, like, when you're gonna start to pick off like small moments like this, it's like, oh, this doesn't work. We should just move ODM gear as well. Then, if Gabby can't shoot a rifle, I think people are just mad that Gabby doesn't.
Yeah, I think you've got to accept it in the end. But like I said, I mean, yeah, true that. I mean, the 3D maneuver gear is kind of illogical anyway, right? It wouldn't practically work. But yeah, I'm not a fan. It's just a bit predictable, I suppose, but predictable in the way that you don't want it to happen, That's my issue. But like I said, I'm not like I'm kind of crying about it now, but I'm not gonna hold it against the manga overall. But it's not something I look back on fondly. Then again, I did defend the whole thing with her shooting Eren, by the way. I defended that. I thought that was good.
You did?
I thought that was good. But this one, just again, I think, her shooting, fair enough, even with a rifle that size, but on a moving bird with a pinpoint target in an eye, it's a little bit different to me. So, but whatever. Like underscore said, it is what it is, and it's a little thing, I suppose, to move the plot forward.
Yeah, I just love Uncle Levi. There's been a lot of good fan art in that regard, so I'm loving that. He can open his tea shop now.
No, don't stop. Yeah, sorry, go on. I'm just crying.
So we also saw a new Titan, which was Ksaver's Beast Titan form, which looked like a ram. And previously he said that he wasn't as useful in battle, which always made me think that his Beast Titan being a mole was a good guess. But now we saw that it was actually a ram. What do you think about his usefulness in battle, in this Beast Titan form at least?
I think we asked that on the poll. Like, was he lying, or I don't know.
All I can say is rest in peace, whale believers.
I know.
There were people who thought he was a whale.
Tony's devastated.
Aww.
Wait, did we put whale on the poll? We might have put it on the wall. Oh, yeah, we did.
You did.
Yeah. Someone tried to meta this, and I don't know that I believe it or not, but apparently if you look at the Chinese zodiac, what comes before monkey is goat. And that maybe the Titan powers, because we did see other animals that are common on the Chinese zodiac, but apparently someone else came back and said that the Japanese zodiac is different and that order is not the same. So I thought it was kind of a fun idea at first that the animals followed the zodiac: sheep followed by monkey, followed by dragon.
I was going to say I can't wait for a dragon.
I mean, he is taking inspirations from a lot of cultures.
Where are my tigers? Where are my dragons?
Where's my whale titan?
Where's the rats?
It's a nice idea, but I don't think it works. But it's a nice little thing. No.
I mean, I understand why that kind of meta was being written, because people are trying to reconcile Xaver saying that he was useless in war, and then he comes, we find out, I mean, a ram is a pretty, it's not like a mole or a whale or a slug, or I don't know, it's an animal that can do some real damage.
Maybe it's not a durable. Maybe it's like, because Reiner has his armor and Zeke has his throwing ability. You don't really know how good Zeke is in close range. He's easy to just like break down. He's not very durable.
Another thing that's worth noting, I mean, I completely like what you said, Luna, about him actually being a mole. That would have been great. That would have been hilarious if he came back as a little mole and like Aaron had to hold him or something. I would have loved that. But the height of him as well. I'm just looking at the chapter now on another screen. There's a scene where you see him literally ram into another Titan, but he's so short. And I can imagine, of course, maybe I'm looking at this a bit too objectively, but if you look at it from Manny's perspective, they have this Titan user that obviously shifts its appearance. Then he turns into this maybe 9-foot Titan, and the risk of losing that Titan is not worth putting him on the front lines. You know what I mean? So maybe that's the kind of conclusion that Marley came to when not putting him on the front lines and keeping him behind with his brain instead. But I'm just trying to justify it here.
Andrew, when you said he was ramming into another Titan, was that a pun?
It can be. It can be if you want it to be.
Okay.
Well, it was kind of, yeah. I think the design's cool. But I prefer what Luna said about him being a mole. I think that's a much better idea that Isayama could have gone with. Although, again, I think a little bit of comedy wouldn't have been fitting, I suppose, in this scene.
So people trying to make sense of it, the poll, 40% think that Xaver was lying to Zeke in that moment, that his Titan was useless in battle. Or that he was lying in general about that because his interests lied more in science. So he kind of acted like he was useless in war in order to be able to focus more on his true interests. So, but I think Tony will be really happy. 19%. I wish he had been a whale. This is why he should have been a whale. So that's 20%. That's pretty good.
That would have been great as well. Just a giant whale just drops down. Just starts flapping around and falls off Eren.
Yeah, he breaks all of his spine.
You can just imagine all the characters stop fighting, just look down at this whale flapping on the floor.
I can only imagine the Pinocchio story with Monstro now, so he's just swallowing everyone on the battlefield.
Ooh, that would be good.
And then, of course, we see Ksaver's Titan again, but this time in a wonderful lotus flower pose with Bertolt and Grisha and Kruger's Titans. I'm sure there was something symbolic about that. I couldn't tell you what, but maybe some of you can tell me.
I mean, the comment that I heard most was that this was Isayama's annoying Armin worship to put Armin in this pose. And that was the opinion of 14% of the fandom.
I mean, I didn't even realize it was Armin at first. That was in the middle, because
you don't see him
I see someone, but I didn't
hands?
realize that was Armin. Let me put it like that.
Thought it was some weird pose. But if you think about what a lotus flower means in, for example, Buddhism, that every person has potential to become great and enlightened and become perfect, it becomes kind of similar to something arm worship, but I don't think that's what Isayama is going for in this page. It's hard to say.
The symbolism works. It can represent rebirth, long life, and other things, which I think fits. If you want to push it that way with Titans and the 2,000-year curse and them living and getting past this, it looks great. This image of Armin looks fantastic.
It looks
great. It looks great, but it also, in the context, is ridiculous. It's cringe. Sorry, it is cringy. That whole 126 with "we're going to save the world." Oh, stop! This isn't what I read Attack on Titan for. And if people enjoy it, that's fine. I think it looks great. If that's colored in, it's going to probably look really good. But the context behind it is sorely lacking in anything that I think is substantial to showcase something that good looking, if you ask me personally.
You could argue that these people were the catalyst, more or less, of what's taking place right now. Because Kruger, he had the Attack Titan and pass it on to Grisha. And then we have Ksaver, who passed his own ideology on to Zeke. And then Bertolt, who broke down the first wall. So without them, we wouldn't be here where we are now.
I guess. I mean, you're not wrong, but it's a bit...
I don't know, yeah, because... I cannot see it in any other context, because it, like you said, it doesn't really make any sense to have this cool shot in the middle of a battle.
We did ask on the poll, like, is it aesthetic? Is it symbolic? Is it Armin worship? Or was there a function to it? And I had argued that we do an all of the above, which of course is the easy answer, because I do think it's all of the above. I think it aesthetically looks amazing. You could meta this panel all day if you talked like you did, Luna, about what their roles were and how they're positioned here. It is probably a little bit of annoying Armin worship, but there's also maybe some function to it, because only 7% of the fandom selected this, but it was brought out, I don't remember who suggested it, that having the backdrop before Armin exploded would help to direct that blast. Like maybe there was a functional reason. So if that's the case, if it was to kind of like push the blast forward towards the head of the Titan, then it's a little more forgivable. But I think in this case, it wasn't all of the above. I think ultimately Isayama did it because it looked cool.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely. He seems like the person who just do random things like that. Like, that's why we have 134. It's just like Isayama is drawing things because he thinks they look cool.
This panel seemed like, okay, let me just show off my art skills.
I think there's been a lot of that recently, and I'm not saying that as a criticism, but there are so many chapters now that we've looked at and said, it looks amazing, the art is amazing, but then the content's not living up to what we'd hoped it would be.
Kind of the reverse of how the manga started.
Exactly.
It's all a cycle. Oh no.
Oh, God.
Okay, so I have to concede something, because I said we would never, ever see Freckled Ymir again. Our story was over. It's done. And I still stand by that latter point. But we did see her again in Pats, and we saw her Titan saving Reiner's ass once again. So, yeah, I am sorry, Momtaku, you were right.
Wow. Okay, I will just enjoy this moment. I loved seeing Ymir again. I was hoping, and I'm going to go ahead and, like, while I'm on a win, keep making wild predictions. I really, really, really still hope that we get another moment with her and Historia. I just feel like that's just anything, just seeing each other, just something. I am continuing to hold hope, and yeah, so you can tell me wrong manga, and when that doesn't happen, I can concede to you. But for now, I'm going to stick with the idea that it's still not over.
I'm sad that they didn't have anything to say in Pats. So do you guys think we'll see any of them talk? Kruger, Ksaver, Freckled Ymir?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it's true. I think if we would have got it, we would have had it this chapter, which is a shame, because I would have liked it as well. I would have really liked it.
Yeah.
Can we bring back Willie now as well, please? We brought back Kruger. Can we bring back another one-note character? Come on. Bring back Willie.
It was every shifter that had a connection to Zeke, but Lady Tiber is not there. Maybe Zeke didn't know her.
That's fair. I think that's impossible.
I mean, he didn't know Kruger
wasn't she
as either, right? Or did he?
He knew Kruger.
Did he know Kruger?
He did, yeah.
He'd met Kruger.
Yeah. He would have been the person that he would have gone to.
Oh, do you mean Zeke would have known that Kruger was the text one?
They would have met. They had a connection.
I think it's possible that they could have met at some point, because Kruger's fascination with Grisha, he probably could have, like, checked out Zeke on his warrior training or something, just because, you know.
Well, Kruger was in the background when Zeke pointed the finger at his family. He was there.
Wait a second.
Yeah, and like he was there. He was there when they were arrested as well, weren't they? He turned up there. I think he's in the background or something. You don't see him properly, I think, and it makes complete logical sense that, you know, he would have spoken to him at least and said something to him in some regard about his parents. So there is a connection there, but how far that went is dubious, I suppose. But there was something there, yeah.
Yeah, Kruger is there. Done.
Can I just go back to one thing? Grisha's Titan is it's bigger than Kruger's. I mean, I know that's Kruger, I assume, in his prime, not the one at the end when he was probably more weakened, but Grisha's attack Titan is bulky and big, isn't it? Like, he's a big guy. Like,
he's thick.
He's thick. Yeah, thick. That's the word. Yeah.
He has a beer belly.
Yeah, it's a Titan with a dad bod.
Just like me. Like, give me another 10 years.
Oh, I now understand why he's your favorite character.
You got it now.
I do love Bertold's fingertips of chastity, where he's like perfectly positioned.
So they don't have to wear underpants again in the Malaysian version.
What?
Oh, you hadn't heard about that, Andrew?
I'm so behind this community. What do you mean?
Oh, you're gonna love this. Andrew.
Oh, in Malaysia, everything is censored. The Titans are all wearing like underpants or swimsuits, but sometimes it's really weird because it's like transparent still. So you have like it's not really covering anything.
What?
But yeah, everything is censored in the Malaysian version.
We're not joking, by the way, Andrew. It's an idea.
It's So the female Titan is completely, covered up.
I'll send an example in the chats.
That looks absurd as hell, doesn't it? Malaysian comic manga censors. That's not an entire manga, no. That's just like the one thing.
No, it is the entire manga.
Way.
No, look at him. Look at Sabrina.
No way. That looks ridiculous. The Eren one is great. It looks like there's some like high school gym boys working out or something at the local swimming pool. Like,
you look at the latest one. The latest one makes me laugh all the time.
What is that? It's like it's going up to his bloody chest. Like it's going at. That is. Oh, that
Don't
is.
die, Andrew.
That is great. When did that happen? Was that this month? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people found out about it like this past month.
Oh, that's hilarious. I'm gonna. Oh man.
Well, now that we've all had a good laugh, I wanted Andrew in specifically to think back about the first time he read this chapter and he saw Levi decapitate Zeke. Because I saw you live stream that and you just completely shut down. I thought your screen had frozen, like nothing was showing on your face. So tell me, what was going through your head at that moment?
In that moment, I was processing what I'd seen, and in my head, I was like, does this work? Does this not work? Do I like this? Do I not like this? And like, I came away from that, and I think when I kind of like processed what I'd read, I was like, right, we'll just leave it there, and I'll keep going for now. Because that was like, that was just something for me that I really just had to kind of think about. And, and I think my reaction after that was just complete denial. Like, this is stupid, that was my initial reaction. In hindsight, I like it. I like it a lot, which might sound surprising.
So why the change of heart? What made you like it?
I think because, again, I revisited all chapters after reading this, over the past week prior, looked at certain things. And obviously, I think rereading past couple of days has kind of helped me a little bit as well with discussing certain characters. But honestly, I think this is fitting, and it's also somewhat tragic because Zeke is free. I mean, I think I also read Momtaku on my server. I think at some point you wrote a comment at some point when I was looking at the channel. You mentioned that, of course, Zeke for the first time feels happy. He's actually free of the burden, which again, and look at the imagery here as well. You've got the imagery that Eren sees himself as a child, but this is Zeke in the real world, feeling free, feeling content, feeling like he can let go. And it's like a happy ending. As silly as it sounds, it's a happy ending for Zeke because I always thought that Eren would kill him and it would be tragic and Zeke would die, without achieving anything. But in hindsight, this is probably better because Zeke has actually gone ahead and done his redemption arc, as short as it is. I wish it was a little bit longer, as we know with the context. But he's done something wholesome. He's connected with his dad, as short as that was. He kind of understands, not the purpose. It's a little bit silly. It's a little bit forced, perhaps, for some people. But I think it fits his narrative, and it's a nice conclusion to him, and like his sense of perhaps, just accepting and embracing the fact that what he did was wrong, but the fact that, of course, he can't change it, and he's done what he can. Also, I think the bit that I like about it the most is his comment, where he goes, I wish we could have still euthanized everybody. That was great. Like, I don't think the plan was a mistake, but it's not going to happen. So I'll do what I can to stop Eren, like his dad asked him to do, and try and do the next best thing. And that was great. That was fantastic. And Levi killing him, right? That fulfills his promise to Erwin. But Levi's face. Like, you can tell that after so many times of trying to kill him and not being able to kill him, this isn't what he wanted. I don't think Levi's going to come away from this happy because he's done this so easily. But what he's done is what Zeke wanted him to kill him. And Levi probably didn't want to get that happening. Zeke died, and he's probably happy with dying. And he's happy that Levi did it to him, hence him calling him out. But Levi's not going to be happy with that because it's what Zeke wanted. Look at his face. I don't think he's happy. I think we're going to see consequences for Levi in the future and some mental breakdown, perhaps. I don't know. But yeah, I like it for both Levi and Zeke. And honestly, I think it's fulfilling. It's Levi that kills him. And I'm glad there's no final big fight between them both. It's short, it's sweet, it gets to the point, it's done with, and we'll see what happens next. I think it's great. I would have preferred Eren still, don't get me wrong, but Levi killing him is the next best thing.
Paris on Twitter asked us, how did you read the look on Levi's face as he finally got to kill him? Was it relief or? And Andrew, you think that there's a lot of mixed feelings there. All right. Like you said, Levi had to know that Zeke emerged to be killed. There is no way Levi did not know at that moment that Zeke was waving at him to come kill him. I think what's interesting is that his face doesn't really change that much. Like his eyes when he sees Zeke are like pinpricks. His face is already weird, right? And then after the kill, it doesn't change that much. So I do think that the face is mostly astonishment, just disbelief that this is happening. This is what he wanted, and it's right here. And yes, Zeke wants this too. And what comes next? There has to be an entire swarm of messy emotions that come both from killing a person, from wanting that person dead, and from waiting 4 years to do it. So I do think there's going to be a little bit of emotional fallout, but mostly I think Levi's feeling relief. I have to think that this is a relief to him, not just that he got to fulfill the promise. Maybe it wasn't the way he expected the fight to go, but I don't know that Levi cares about how the fight went. I think he wanted Zeke dead, and I think he got it. I think what's funny is in the fandom that I'm in, the ones that really do favor Levi quite a bit, we're shocked. We all hoped he'd get this chance, but I don't think anyone really would have bet money that it happened. So to see it happen now, Zeke got what he wanted, Levi got what he wanted. That's the story now. You mentioned his face maybe being regrets. I don't think Levi would ever regret this, ever.
No regrets, right? Yeah, maybe I
No
phrased that
regrets.
one. No regrets, yeah.
He won't have any regrets, but that doesn't mean he enjoys it.
No, of course not. That's Levi, right? He's spiteful. He's vengeful. He wanted Zeke dead. I don't think that makes him happy that Zeke had to be in that position.
He was hell-bent on killing him. Come on.
This was his final tick mark in his list of things to do, and there's no way he regrets it.
Maybe because Zeke welcomed it, and it also led to the end of the rumbling, and Zeke's whole purpose in that moment was to stop the rumbling.
It was a win-win.
I don't know. Yeah, but did it feel like that's what I mean? Was it really a win for Levi? The look on his face made me think it was maybe like a empty victory for him. Like there's no real feeling behind it, not the like relief or satisfaction that he had hoped for.
I think it's relief. Imagine wanting to do something for 4 years for your, the one promise, last chapter, the one order that he couldn't fulfill, and here he is fulfilling it. We'll see. A future chapter will answer that, or maybe it won't. Maybe it'll always be left to us, whether it's empty relief or genuine relief. But I have to think it's genuine relief. Like I said, no regrets.
Do you have any expectations for him after this? I don't want him to retire and settle down. Maybe because, again, it's just my opinion and my perspective for so many years. But like you, Momtaku, I wanted him to die in some way. But maybe, I don't know. Because if he retires, I guess it's fitting as the last member of the, because he's always lived and everyone else around him has died. I guess it works thematically as well. So I don't have an issue with it. But I don't. How can this guy have a happy ending after everything he's lost, everything he's been through, everything? People think that's worth a happy ending, but for me, like Owen, he needs to rest. And would he want to live in this world anymore after losing everybody and failing with Eren and everything else? Do you think he would? I don't know, but
because he needs to live, because he's the only one who can remember those moments.
I was going to say that too.
That's true. Yeah, very true.
It ties into what Irvin said, and it ties into what Armin and Zeke said this chapter. So I'm just gonna say he's gonna get a meaning from the people he's lost, and he's gonna live on happy in a sense, but not really happy.
I'm fine with him living, but I'm also fine with him dying.
I would have liked Zeke to live, but that was, I accept this and think coming out of my reaction, like I felt something I've not felt in a long time, and I think it was because I lost my favorite character. After all these years, he's finally gone, and I actually felt, I felt empty inside, and I don't know how I'm surprised in myself of feeling that way, without a manga character. But I felt so empty inside. Like, is this it? That's it? He's gone. That's it. Must have been the same for you with Hanji. I assume Momtaku.
Well, with Erwin, probably with Erwin.
Erwin, yeah. But like. In retrospect or on reflection, like, yeah, I'm content. Like, I would have preferred it if he'd lived. I would have preferred it if things were different. But I think out of all the ways that he could have gone, this was a good way compared to other possibilities of him finishing his arc in the story. Not the best that I wanted, but far from the worst. So I'm content with it.
Like you said, he got a happy ending. I
Exactly.
mean, you never in 1,000 years thought he would get a happy ending. And I think no matter what happens to Levi now, he gets a happy ending too. He did what he set out to do. He finished his mission, and whatever happens now, whether he lives or dies, he has a happy ending. I don't see any way that whether he lives or dies, that this is not a happy ending for Levi. I hope I don't have to eat those words.
I'll be sure to remind you if you do.
You will. All right. So we did get a couple of asks about Reiner. Vital on Discord. The talk about who would be the next Helos of Marley, I believe Reiner is going to be this person. I can see him grabbing the trident of one of the Warhammer Titans and stabbing Eren's head, mirroring the Helos statue in Marley. This is something that a lot of people talk about. Those tridents are there. He's wrestling the worm right now. Explosion is about to happen right now. Luna, Reiner Helos, has it happened, or are we still waiting for it? And what's it going to look like?
Next chapter, it's going to happen for sure.
What specifically?
He's going to kill the worm. He's going to stop Eren, and he's going to take one of those spears out of his back. And I don't know if he's going to put it in Eren's Titan head or actual head. I don't care at this point. But Reiner Helos, next chapter.
Okay.
Definitely.
Underscore?
100% is going to happen. You can't tell me otherwise. It's been built up this entire time. Like it or dislike it, it's going to happen.
So Mikasa's not going to be the one to kill Eren. It's going to be Reiner Helos.
Direct a kill. I don't know a direct a kill, but I will say it will be a form of Helos statue. Like, Isayama definitely showed us his past few chapters that he loves his grandeur imagery. So he will 100% just do a repeat of that image. Because he can.
Yes. Andrew, what about you? Reiner Helos moment?
100%. Going to happen, like you said. All the parts are there. This trident, the head, the imagery, of course, from what Willie saw and what we got to see in the Marley arc with the original Helos. It's all there. If it doesn't happen, then Isayama is just throwing us a ball and just saying, I'm just taking the piss, and he's done it before with that. He's kind of showed us something and he's taken it away from us in the past, but it's there. It's going to happen. Whether it amounts to him killing him, like Underscore said, I couldn't tell you, but it's definitely going to be a Helos moment, and hopefully it's going to be a good moment for Reiner. Perhaps we get to see him rant a little bit towards Eren. I'm not sure, but it'll be good to get a little bit of information there between those two, if the chance arises, perhaps. And maybe Eren is forced out of his Titan head by Reiner. And then, of course, I'm a bit of a fan of a beatdown. I like a fist fight. It's not going to happen, but I'd love Reiner and Eren to go to blows, fist and fighting. A bit of a macho fight, but that's not going to happen. Definitely Helos, though, 100%. We're going to have the imagery there, basically.
I think that finishes our manga discussion, but we do have a few more questions from our listeners. One was from Shanto, which we had already answered in the conversation about our thoughts on the returning previous shifters. Andrew hated it. The rest of us accepted it. Yeah. And also about that Reiner Helos moment, which everyone thinks is definitely going to happen. But we have one from Prince Zero on Twitter. What are your thoughts on the consequences of stopping the rumbling? Do you guys think that what's left of humanity will leave paradise alone? This kind of speaks to the consequences that people are always talking about. They want to see consequences. So, Underscore, what do you think? What are the consequences of stopping the rumbling?
I don't think paradise will be destroyed in any sort of way. It will not have time for that anyways. but it seems like it's building up for especially what's the man in the General Mueller or Commander Mueller said. It seems like it's definitely going to build up to some kind of peace conclusion throughout stopping the rumbling. If it's about like the Jaegerists on the island, I think the entire Jaegers movement have shattered now with the death of Flock, and with a big part of their military force being destroyed by not only the Alliance but also Magaf and Shadows. So I think that entire movement has just been taken down from power.
So these theories that have emerged, Andrew, you may not know about these. Luna, I'm not sure if you do either, but there are theories now that Eren is going to restart the rumbling, and some of them are really creative. Like there's one theory now that Eren is powering this Titan form remotely from Shiganshina using the Warhammer Titan power, because the Warhammer, yes, but not using a cord, because the founding Titan gives him the ability to power it remotely. So he's in Shiganshina powering this Titan and the rumbling. And that with Zeke dead, he's going to run and find Historia and touch her Beast Titan baby and restart the rumbling. So
I read that as well. He would run over to her naked, burst out of his crystal, and restart the rumbling.
Yes. So whether or not you like that theory, the idea that Eren's going to restart the rumbling is out there.
That sounds so far-fetched. I love it. I absolutely love that. That would be such a curveball if that happens. I know there's maybe a lot of issues with it, but yeah, I'd love that to happen. That would be such a 180 on everything. I'd love it. That's a great theory.
I mean, considering it took him from 123 till 137 to stop the first rumbling, do we really want another one to start with 2 chapters left?
Probably not.
No.
So there is also a theory that, and we asked this on the poll, which theory, and some of these have a lot of support. Remotely powering the Titan is 37%. 66%, he knew this was going to happen. It's part of his Lelouch plan. So I just thought I would throw that out there, that's an idea people have as well, that Eren planned for this. I know.
I don't like that. There's a reason it's called the Lelouch ending.
Yeah.
All right. So do we think the rumbling is stopped for good, or do we think it's going to restart?
Considering how much...
2 chapters.
Yeah, I think this is it.
The thing is, obviously, Prince asked the question, the consequences. I don't think we're going to get any. I think we're going to have an open-ended conclusion. I was hoping, I know it's not going to happen now, I was hoping that we get something like a reference or a king to Lord of the Rings in the books, where, of course, Sauron's defeated, meaning Eren. Paradis go back to, on Lord of the Rings, after so many years, they go back to the Shire, but the Shire has been destroyed in the books of Lord of the Rings by Saruman, who's still alive, or called Shaku. And, of course, Paradis would go back to, the 1 in 4 will go back to Paradis, and there's a civil war going on. And, of course, the Jaegerists and the populace have risen up, and they've actually taken control, because, again, the populace of Paradis did seem to be wavering. I think, maybe it was a vocal minority, but from my look at it in appearance, I think it looked like the Jaegerists were kind of more vocal and probably going to take control anyway without Flock. So the ending would be, essentially, Eren's defeated, they go back to Paradis, they arrive in Paradis, shit, there's a civil war, there you go, that's it. But that's a bit, that's not Isayama's style, is it? So it's not going to happen that way, which is unfortunate, because I'd love something like that. But no, I don't think I think the rumbling stopped. I think 60% of me thinks it stopped. 40% hoping for something a bit more tragic, with it starting again, and oh dear, Eren's dead, but we can't stop the rumbling. That's it, game over, Paradis survives, Eren wins, but again, so do the 1 in 4 in the Alliance. Live with what you've got. But yeah, but I think that, 40% chance that it's probably going to start again, 60% chance it's stopped for good, and we'll get the conclusion in the next 2 chapters. But I don't think we'll get any context from Paradis, and if we do, it's going to be rushed in half a chapter. Underscore mentioned that, of course, perhaps the Jaegerists could be overthrown. On that, maybe, who's that girl with the glasses that we've not seen in the garrison?
Rico.
Maybe that's a chance for Rico to return, and we'll see them get back to Paradis. Rico led them.
You're holding out hope for that.
I am.
She's on my bingo card. The return of Rico. It's got to happen.
Maybe she took control. I don't know. We'll see, but it's a good question.
I need that bingo. Oh, on my bingo, Andrew, I had one of my bingo squares was that Zeke. What did I say? Zeke acts like an ass or he's some kind of a jerk, Zeke, whatever. And I can't even mark it because he was nice. Like he didn't do anything.
And you cried when
I'm
he died. I was so happy.
bummed. I got Zeke back, but I didn't get him being a jerk. I got him being like a super nice guy. So I missed a bingo.
If only it was like he said to Levi at some point. He goes, "If only things were different, maybe we could have been different too." And it's like,
I mean, this chapter single-handedly destroyed 4 of my bingo tiles. So,
Which 4 did you lose?
Levi dies. Zeke final panel. No shifter dies.
Oh.
No, yeah.
Oh well.
Well, I actually have potential to have bingo in one place. So,
Oh, that's tricky.
Reiner Helos needs to happen.
I need Beast Titan baby.
There's a good chance for both, I'd say.
Still think it's Zeke holding the baby at the end, by the way. Just pointing out. But if it's not, if it's not Zeke, then it must be the farmer. And if it's not the farmer, then it's definitely Grisha in the past or something. I don't know. It's not Eren, though, is it? Or Armin or Jean. But...
Don't know. It could be John holding
with the Fingerstein baby.
Oh. Yeah, that's actually...
Do you need to put someone on the cart? Otherwise, what's the point of having a cart and a horse?
Exactly, a baby stroller. The baby stroller will be the cart.
Oh, no.
Okay, but wait a second. All the Jaegerists that hate this because it's destroyed their vision, their ending, and who still want Eren to be the father of Historia's baby and be in the final panel, the fact that they're all shipping Fingerstein now means that maybe they'll be okay with the final panel if it's the Fingerstein baby. Like maybe this was Isayama's plan to give them something to make them happy.
Yeah, I would be fine with that.
Yeah.
I mean, we would be, but I don't think the people who were like Chadron, because going to wipe out the world as, it's all,
for his baby.
Vengeance, that's completely understandable and legitimate and not a bad thing at all. And yeah, he knocked up the one real waifu of the series, Historia.
I mean, everyone knows the person in the final panel is going to be farmer anyways, so... are we allowed?
Yeah. Fingerstein baby.
Can we all agree that Jean's a good character and that he deserves a happy... Because he said to Flock in the Waffle Paradise, Flock says to him, Flock says to... Because I'm assuming Jean and Flock were good friends in the 1 and 4th at some point, because it kind of bounces off that way to me. But, Flock says to Jean, you can start that family that you've always wanted. And then we get the flashbacks of Jean looking into his head, thinking about, being... in a part of paradise, drinking some wine with a wife behind him and everything, and Jean wants a happy family. I think he's the only person in this manga that does want that. Where he wants to actually have a family and have a kid and a normal life. So it would be fitting for him to hold a baby and say, "You are free from the burden of what I've had to live my life." And I like that. Yeah, I'd take that 100%. And it would annoy a lot of people, which would be funny. But I'd like that a lot personally.
Yeah, still on the consequences, I kind of like what you said about Isayama leaving the ending more open, Andrew, because maybe that's what we'll see. There's a chance maybe for things to change, but it's for us left up to us to interpret whether it will or it won't. With maybe there will be a civil war in Paradis, or maybe the rest of humanity will leave Paradis alone, but maybe they will still.
That would be enjoyable.
See them as a threat,
because that would leave the manga open to discussion probably for years to come. I think people would still debate it, discuss it, and everything, and that's that's often a good thing, especially with something like that.
And I think,
I mean, I'm just gonna say Isayama might have ended Attack on Titan, but that doesn't mean Attack on Titan is over.
Dun dun dun.
Are we gonna get Attack on Titan next generation, boys?
Yeah, it's next.
Oh no! Stop. Attack on Titan, Highschool AU.
Oh, no. That's
and
not.
then after that's finished,
no.
Highschool AU, next generation.
Okay. I've done it. I figured it out. You know the girl in the the school scenario in the end of season 3 part 2. That's Peakstein's child, and in the future, and it's hints on the after story. And, it's so deep.
You figured it out. You figured it out. Fingerstein child.
ignore the fact that Peak will probably die before she's able to birth a single child because of the shifter. But you know, and Titan powers, maybe.
Let's continue on from the absolute nonsense that we're talking. Psyche had another question for us. Isayama made a bold choice to keep the protagonist asleep throughout the entire final arc. Do you think our Sleeping Beauty will actually do something next chapter, since he just got a colossal alarm nuke to wake him from his slumber? Or will he just say his final words and die?
He's gonna wake up from the long dream in chapter 1.
He's got to do something. That's my main complaint about this, is that this is supposed to be Eren, and we haven't seen him.
I'm just gonna say that he's dreaming right now, he's sleeping, and in chapter 1, Eren wakes up from a deep dream.
I'll take that underscore. I think I'll like that as well. If he kind of wakes up now from whatever dream he's in, and then has a conversation or faces off with Reiner or something, and we get more context on him. Also, to support what you said, and I agree with it as well, Luna, I think I'd probably prefer it like an open-ended conclusion. This manga started with Eren, and if it finishes with Eren, that's it. This is Eren's story. I mean, we do get the context and everything. So why do we need to know what happens after that? We get to see what happens to Eren. We get the final closing shot with the scarf maybe around the neck with Mikasa. That's it. Story done. What happens afterwards? Don't know. I'll take that.
And it will be something symbolic about Grisha holding Eren in the end or something like that. And it's gonna be like,
we'll never find out about the baby. That would annoy so many people that if we never find out about the baby. But yeah.
That makes me want it even more.
Yeah, you can. This unironically sounds like good. When we talk about it. So.
If anything, this chapter taught me was that the fandom meltdown was fun for about like 20 minutes, and then it was just awful. So I no longer am looking forward to fandom meltdowns. Well, I would like to be right, and I want the series to go my way. My gosh, the payoff on that is not worth it. We also received a question from Tumblr from Transladata, yeah, who is a member of the Russian AOT fandom, and said that they can confirm that people over here were very disappointed with chapter 137 and with the overall direction of the manga for the last 10 chapters or so. Personally, I find it enjoyable, but a lot of people were apparently too invested in the idea that Eren is all-powerful and just can't lose this easily. And I guess conflict solving through talking sounds too convenient for most fans. She wanted to know if the reactions were any different in the West, or they wanted to know. I don't know if it's a he or a she, but yeah, I mean, I think the points that people are complaining about are the same ones that we're hearing, that this is too convenient, that Eren shouldn't lose this easily, and a lot of disappointment over the general direction of the last 10 chapters. And I thought it was funny in this, she said, or they said, I don't know if you care for statistics. Obviously I do, because I'm on the poll team. So Transladata, I have statistics for you. In the poll this month, we did ask, if this is the end of the fight, were you satisfied with the final battle? And 37% said they were satisfied. 21% said it exceeded their expectations. So right there, we have about 60% who are okay with it. 20% thought it had potential, but was cut short. And 11% thought it was stupid from start to end. And I know who those 11% are. I've been talking to them this week, and they're alive and well on Andrew's server. So, yeah, and on Titanfolk and on other places. So, yeah, that's it. And I think we all, to varying degrees, agree that it had potential that was cut short, and that it's been a little convenient and a little bit easy and all of those things. So I'm very sympathetic to the Russian fandom and to anyone who's unhappy with this.
I think what this chapter finalized, meaning Zeke and I guess Levi's relationship, I mean, Ymir's is a little bit confusing, but I think what it ended was fine. But I think moving forward, I think that's, I mean, I hate saying it every month, wait till next month, but, you know, I think with what we got this chapter, the payoff with Eren, I think, is going to be the big last straw for a lot of people. And if that fails, then that's it. But I don't know. I think after my rant, personally, and my discussion tonight, we'll see what happens. But I view it more favorably than I did before. I don't want to give a rating, but I'm going to be careful what I say here. I don't. This is a weak chapter, but honestly, based upon our discussion, I liked it. I liked it enough. I liked it enough to warrant it being something that is okay within the actual story. It's not a chapter that I think's ruined the manga for me, if that makes sense.
I think I will walk out of this podcast here and actually enjoy the chapter more than I did before. So talking about it in this way really made me realize what I loved about this manga. And I think some of that is shown here.
I agree. Honestly, like the same with the last podcast. I think for me, it's obviously talking to people from like a different part of the community. I mean, obviously, Momtaku, we get to hear your thoughts. But obviously, Luna, it's great to hear what you have to think as well on this, like last time as well, along with the other lady that was in the podcast for 132, which was really nice. But, you know, different parts of the community coming together discussing it, you can learn a lot and you can probably appreciate the manga a lot more than, you know, just reading the same kind of, well, opinions, I suppose, or shit posts, I guess, as they call them every day. Doesn't help the mood, I guess you could say. But it is what it is, you know.
Our final question for you is, what do you hope to see next chapter?
Reiner Heroes, so I can get my bingo. Other than that, I want some kind of Eren inputs. It's just been so interesting seeing his inputs, and I want more explanations and answers to just give us a Eren point of view to end the entire manga, I think.
Eren alive, when we asked this on the poll, was the most popular choice. People want Eren alive and doing something.
For me, I want to see what's going to happen next because they're on Falco. They're going to go back to the plateau where the family are. I want to see what happened there, what the aftermath was there, because that's going to happen. We're going to see, and if they get there and like there was a massive fight and people are dead, that's like, oh crap, you know, we forgot about this happening from the other chapter.
Oh, that's right.
So
we got Muller.
Yeah, Muller. I want to see what happens there.
Muller. Oh,
I'm excited for that actually because if they go back there and after winning and like everyone's just dead or they've shot each other and everything, that would be kind of, you know, a bit of a slap in the face thinking, oh, it's a happy ending, and think, oh, that happened. You know, and then it kind of hits the fact that no, Malians and Eldians can never have peace. That would hit that back even more. And then it's more tragic, I guess, that, you know, maybe we've beaten Eren, but the theme of Eldians and Malians being friends will never, you know, it'll always go back down to the basic substantial point of you're different than me and, you know, all that stuff. But yeah, I'd like to see more of that Muller stuff. But apart from that, I want to go with that fan theory of Eren being naked in Shiganshina and going to Historia. Yes, that's my I'll go with that.
Luna?
Obviously, Reiner Helos. Next chapter. I guess I want something from Eren. Like, I want him to be physically present there. But yeah, I don't know. It would be nice if like Armin and Mikasa were somehow involved in killing him, but because he can't. Yeah, this can't go on anymore. And then like the last chapter can be some sort of epilogue or something.
So I'll just throw out something that Humble said that I can't unsee now. Humble suggested, what if, and he didn't think that this would definitely happen, just a what if next chapter we go right to the epilogue, right to the baby, and the rest of the story is told in flashback through other characters talking about what happened. So I don't think that's likely, but I don't know, maybe because I want this to end, like I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind seeing the ending first and then finding out how it happened. So when Humble suggested that, I thought maybe that would be kind of fun. So completely change things up and just let's jump right to the epilogue and see what happens. Let's learn what happened that way.
That's like really that's thinking outside the box. But personally, like you know, a good idea. But I don't know. I don't know if that would fit with. Is Isayama done something like that before with a story? I mean, I'm not saying he wouldn't do something. He has. When was that? Sorry, I'm going to sound like an idiot here for not knowing.
I mean, he doesn't tell story. He relies very heavily on flashbacks, and you know, he never tells a linear story. And the fact that he revealed the final panel so soon is kind of evidence to me. And the final audio and all those things, he revealed those things. he doesn't really care about the ending. It's the process.
I guess it might ask more questions if that happened, which would be a good thing, I suppose, for response. But yeah, but the question is, who would be narrating it? Would it be Armin?
I think Mikasa.
Of course.
Mikasa. I think Armin's going to die. I think it's Mikasa.
Do you think Armin's going to die?
Yep.
Oh, Momtaku, you know your theory last month of Armin being dead in paths? I wish that was so good. I'm sorry that didn't happen. Like, that was a good theory. Sorry.
Well, my theory was that if Zeke was dead, they were either both alive or they were both dead. There was no Zeke is dead, but they were in the same place. They were the same eventuality, whatever that eventuality was. So the fact that they were both alive was fine.
I'm just happy it wasn't that wacky theory where Zeke, the Zeke in Paths was the one that was eaten by Ymir in 115.
Oh, that was interesting last month.
Oh, yeah.
As I recall, you were a supporter of that, weren't you, Momtaku? Or am I mistaken completely?
Well, I think what happens is we focus in on lines of dialogue. You were eaten too. We focus in on lines of dialogue. We try to make sense of them. And then those lines of dialogue end up not mattering. And I think that's a trap that I fall into all the time. And looking back over like my past metas and posts, there are so many times we as a fandom fixated on a sentence that we thought was significant or a piece to the puzzle. And it ended up not being a piece to the puzzle. It was a random piece to a random puzzle tossed in that didn't help us finish the picture at all. So yeah. I think that's what it was.
I fall into the same trap too. 100%. I'm the exact same. Like, I can't.
It feels like that. Like I've been trying to put the puzzle pieces together since chapter 46. And I finally realized that, the box of puzzle pieces we're dealing with are from several different sets. And some of them don't fit at all. So not to mention like Isayama keeps holding back the important ones.
Yeah. And to close things off, we are having another quickfire. And joining us live is Polka, who is going to give us the option between something horrible and between something horrific. So looking forward to it again, Polka, after a 2-month break. The order will be _, Andrew, Momtaku, and then me.
Oh, well, let's do the quickfire. _ Andrew. Right. Levi, Runner.
Runner.
Levi.
Levi.
Reiner.
You disgust me, Andrew. Reiner. Juan or Falco.
What was that?
It's not even a word. Doesn't exist.
What, Juan?
I can't believe you brought Juan into my podcast, Polka.
Yes, I would like to pick Jean very much.
Juan, I don't understand. Like Jean or Juan?
Jean is Jean.
It's just Jean, but it's Spanish name.
Like, Polka, could you ask it again? This is such a slow quick fire round. Like.
Obviously, this is too much for your puny northern brain. Just can't handle it.
What can I say, mate? I'm not a southerner like you. So
Introduce another Briton to the call, and the banter just doubled.
Anyway, yeah, Gino. What was it? Falco.
Oh, Falco. Oh, yeah, Falco. No, Jean. I think it said Flock. Sorry, yeah, Jean. Jean. Same thing. Oh, honestly, Polka, man. Like...
What a wonderful quickfire this is.
Oh my god, okay, yeah.
Keep this in because I want everyone to see how much of an idiot Andrew is.
I think this is what happens after you've been recording 5 hours. I picked John.
Falco, of course.
Yeah, Jean. Zeke or Eren?
Zeke.
Zeke.
Eren?
Eren.
Luna.
We've got Mr. YouTube sensation in the call.
Exactly.
You can't build his entire Zeke. Brand off this character.
I can say whatever I want. It's my podcast.
You got me there.
You can say whatever you want in like 30 minutes on your live stream.
That'll do. Yeah, definitely.
Armin or Mikasa?
Mikasa?
Armin.
I'll say Armin.
Mikasa.
Armin. Just talk no jutsu, why not? Ksaver or Kruger?
Kruger.
Ksaver.
Kruger.
Kruger. Andrew.
I think I'm just all right. All right. I think I'm just being a little bit silly there. I'll go with Kruger. Though I do like Ksaver.
No, you like Ksaver,
You're
right?
being you're being shamed. You're being shamed into this. You picked the wrong answer.
This is all set up, wasn't it, Polka? You've set this up intentionally to confuse me.
You called me Flock loads of times. You confuse yourself. You confuse yourself. It's actually
I know, it's
skill
ridiculous, mate. Honestly, all the time.
Grisha or Bert?
Grisha.
Ooh.
Grisha.
Bert.
Yeah, Bert.
Grisha. Porco or Ymir?
I pick Ymir.
I pick Porco.
Ymir.
Porco, because he actually got to die on screen. Lamau. Lamau. Imagine dying off screen. Lamau. Piek or Gabby?
Damn, I don't like either. Gabi.
Gabby Gang.
Hell no.
Peak.
Gabby gang.
Yeah, Piek. Hobo Eren, old Eren, or current Eren? Which one do you prefer?
Oberon.
They're all the same to me, so I'd say all of them. I mean, fine Hobo Eren, but they're all the same person.
Original OG Eren.
Like character-wise, Hobo Eren, looks-wise, current Eren.
I say Hobo Eren. Is he dead? That's the real question. That is a question. Is he dead?
Oh, no.
Nope.
No.
I love how we're just so used to it now. We just know he's not dead. Whose death was the best in the series so far?
Arvin.
Erwin.
Loyalties would indicate I go Erwin.
I'm going to go with the one that actually made me cry, and that's Cold.
Kenny.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Was the chapter great, meh, bad, or what other word? Single word.
Fine is my word.
I know it's two, but an experience.
No, it's 2 words. You've got to pick one.
Experience.
Interesting. Interesting.
It was good. Good.
Undecided. That's how I feel about it.
It's a word I'm going to just say it's a word I probably can't say on the podcast. Just what's it? Damn. There we go. Damn is a close enough word. Just disappointing. I don't know what the word is for it. I didn't. It's not going the way I want it to, but I kind of get it. It's not. Oh well.
It's a bit of a letdown for you.
Bit of a letdown for me. Yeah.
Aww.
I read it once. That should show you it's how much of a letdown it is.
Was that it?
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
I did that when I was walking a dog.
It's always nice to know the origins, the quickfire origins. Walking a dog. Good one.
Riding a bike.
It's usually when I'm drunk.
Drunk, yeah, that's the standard one. Okay, thank you so much for the quick fire.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh.
All right. Well, I guess that concludes our 137 podcast. I first of all would love to thank Underscore and Andrew for joining us. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me. It's just fun being here, and especially near the end of the manga. Not many chances left, so it was an experience for sure.
Yeah, it was good having you both. And it's always fun for me to hear that your opinions have changed as you've done this podcast with us.
Yeah, it's always an experience, and like I said, it's always nice to hear people that appreciate the manga, but view it differently in some ways, and to learn from that and change as well. My opinion. So thank you.
And Andrew, it's incredibly brave of you to do the chapter reactions that you do, knowing by now that you're gonna change, and that's still going to be there as a record of your initial impressions. So I appreciate you doing those as well. They're highly entertaining, but I always enjoy getting to hear what you really think about it after the fact.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. It means a lot. Thank you.
I'd like to thank our Patreons. We have Simon, Taryn, Kenny, Ann M, Silarana, Tom, Ruby Gus, Zero Viz, Linduin, and
dun dun dun.
Eren did nothing wrong. I know. Eren. I should let Andrew do our Eren did nothing wrong.
And thank you to Eren did nothing wrong for supporting the Who Here Big Girl podcast.
Yeah, but does he have the t-shirt though?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I'll have to send it to him.
Yes.
Yeah,
we all need the t-shirt. I just want to wear it for the last chapter, unironically, just like Eren did nothing wrong, because without Eren, we wouldn't have had this entire manga.
Exactly.
And we wouldn't have had this podcast, right? Mm-hmm. So, where did you get the shirts, Andrew?
Honestly, £10 a shirt. I got them online, just any online business thing.
You just made them yourself.
Own thing. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And it's great for all the emotes with the Zeke one and everything, because you can just put on any old rubbish and they'll do it for you. So yeah. But, and Momtaku, you can get the Zeke one. I'll give you the Zeke shirt. I'll give this Patreon guy my Eren shirt, and Luna, you can have the Alliance shirt that I've got that says, we will save the world. You can have that one.
I want it. Yes, send it to me.
Yeah.
It needs to have a box on the back or something that just constantly plays the Avengers theme. Dun, 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 dun.
I'll just put like WandaVision on in the background or something, or
on the back of the shirt it says "I support the Alliance," so you can obviously show that off to people as well if you're, feeling feeling that way.
I'd be a bit worried if it said "I support the Axis" or something.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this month, guys. I had a lot of fun recording. I hope you did too. Mm-hmm. And to everyone out there listening, thank you as always for offering your hearts and your ears. And until next month, bye.
And watch the AndrewAllStars stream and his YouTube channel. And
No, don't.
And I'm on it, so it's great on a Sunday.
Subscribe to Velocious.
Yeah, subscribe to Velocious, and on a Saturday evening you can listen to me and Andrew watch the episode live usually, and it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
Dun 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 dun.